Specifically, on January 28th, 2026, proper notice was sent to the electronic news sources of record, filed with the municipal clerk at the Township of Bridgewater, and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Please be aware of the Zoning Board of Adjustment policy for public hearings. No new application will be heard after 9:30 p.m., and no new testimony will be taken after 10 p.m. Hearing assistance is available on request, and if you have any specific accommodations, you can make those requests in advance. I'd like, if you're able, to stand and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Probst, do we have a roll call, please? Here.
Here.
Mrs. Amin?
Yeah.
Mr. Franco?
Here.
Mr. Fresco?
Here.
Ms. Rose? Here. Mr. Gajewski? Ms. Wiseman? Mr. Vesio?
Here.
Mr. Colucci? Mr. Mignella?
Here.
Rich Aller, Board Attorney?
Here.
Bill Burr, Board Engineer? Here. Catherine Sarman, Planner?
Here.
You can proceed.
Very well, thank you. Before I open the meeting up to the public, I just wanted to take a moment of personal indulgence. July 4th is coming up. It's going to be the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We say the Pledge of Allegiance almost by rote, and yet it takes a good moment now when you're reflecting on the history of this country to look at that flag and to see what it represents and all of the history it represents and all of the people who have died to make this country what it is today. When you look back on documents like the Declaration of Independence and then the actual Constitution itself, and you look toward self-governance, we have a board of volunteers. Everybody here is unpaid, and as a result, they put in a lot of time. They do it because they are interested in the good of their community. They want to protect Bridgewater and its development, and they want to see it developed smartly and correctly. And so I thank them for being here and putting in the additional time it takes. And then when you think in terms of self-governance, that was a concept that was foreign to the rest of the world until the United States was formed. And even things like private property rights, where you could control your own property, buy and sell it, acquire new property, those are all as a result of the founding of this country. So in many ways, we, without speaking about it, celebrate that at these meetings by the actions we take, the diligence we apply to each applicant, and the fairness that we apply in this quasi-judicial setting. So thank you for that indulgence. And with that,
John, before you go, we have a...
Mr. Gajewski has joined us. Thank you, sir. I know your commute is tougher than everybody, so always appreciate it when you get here. Thank you. So I would like to open the meeting to the public, but anyone who wants to address this board on any matter that's not on tonight's agenda. So just something specific to land use, you may do so at this time. And seeing none, do we have any minutes that we need to accept at this time?
No.
No minutes. We do have a resolution, I believe. Let's see. So this would be the resolution for application number 23-009-28, Chimney Rocks Self-Storage LLC. It's an extension of a prior approval, and it was approved with conditions. Anything we need to do, Mr. Oler, that?
No, there are no modifications or changes to the resolution that the board has in front of it.
Okay. So it's some,
Then I'll make a motion to...
I'll second that.
okay, Mr. Wiley makes the motion, Mrs. Amin is the second. Ms. Probst?
Chairman Kulak?
Yes.
Mr. Wadley?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Gajewski?
Yes.
That's everyone.
Thank you. We have an application and a resolution that's pending. We're hoping to get the minutes, and then we'll be able to approve that resolution once we have all the information that we're looking for. Generally speaking, land development applications are entertained by your coming to the municipal building during normal business hours. Ms. Probst is here, and she's likely the first line of defense and the first person you'll talk to, and you couldn't be in better hands. So thank you, Nancy, for your hard work. We had listed here a second hearing / appeal listed for announcement purposes only, and we're adjourning this to 7/14 at 7 p.m. without further notice, and that's application number 25-011ZB, Jeffrey Hinkle, Block 254, Lot 18, 66 Findern Avenue. So, what I'd like to do is have application number 25-015ZB, see if I can get this closed, Shyamal and Shumei Roy, and it's your initial hearing tonight. It is Block 164, Lot 4.02, 43 Edgewood Terrace. And we have in attendance this evening, looks like Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to grab this so I don't get yelled at by the other box tonight.
Just for reference, we use microphones. This is being recorded. It's broadcast on YouTube. It's recorded on YouTube. You can play it back as often as you'd like and enjoy. But if you're not speaking into a microphone, nothing happens. So you may be chastised briefly, but gently. Thank you.
Thank you. John Sullivan from the offices of Vastola and Sullivan, representing the applicant. Mr. and Mrs. Roy are the contract purchasers of this property, which is located at 43 Edgewood Terrace. And we actually have two lot and block numbers because the municipal boundary line for Bridgewater and Raritan runs right through the property. So in terms of Bridgewater, we are block 164, lot 4.02, and in Raritan, we are block 1 in lot 11.02. As you may know, if you read Mr. Mad's report, it gives you a nice background on this property. The property was the subject of a subdivision in Raritan Borough, which created this particular lot. We took a little bit of time to get here. We had to get an amended jurisdictional agreement in place between Bridgewater and Raritan. I must say Bridgewater did their part very quickly. It took us a little while to get Raritan on board. But that gives Bridgewater and this board full jurisdiction to deal with this lot, even though a portion of it is in Raritan. Pretty much the application before you is pretty simple. It's a vacant lot, and we are proposing to build a single-family home on the lot. We do need variances. We need that for front yard setback, 50 feet is required, 35 feet is proposed. And for rear yard setback, 50 feet is required and 33.4 feet is proposed. Overall, the lot is it's oversized, almost double what's required for the R20 zoning district. Unfortunately, it's not that deep. I think it's only about 110 feet deep, which drives the need for these particular variances. The plans that we submitted tonight are the architectural plan prepared by Zacks International. That's dated May 6th of 2025, and the variance plan prepared by Manteria Design, and that was dated July 30th of 2025 and last revised May 5th of this year. We have three witnesses, and I'm going to apologize in advance for mispronouncing our architect's name, but that's Ben Catarinecchia. We also have our engineer, Giovanni Manilio, and our professional planner, Michael Pesolano. Mr. Roy is here and available to answer any questions if they may arise. So if I may, I would begin with our architect.
Hey, John,
John, why don't we, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just had a question. When you said that you worked with Bridgewater and Raritan, so basically Bridgewater has all the rights to the property when making the decision?
Correct. Under the amended jurisdictional agreement, there was at least one, maybe two prior jurisdictional agreements, which gave Raritan the full authority to deal with the entire lot in the first instance. Then I think a second one basically said, you know, Raritan deals with the Raritan side, we deal with the Bridgewater side, and now we changed that to give this town and this board full jurisdiction over this entire lot, which is,
So if we make a decision to approve it, they have no say in anything to change it?
correct, correct. Yeah, they already did the subdivision, which resulted in, I think it was a two-lot subdivision, and this lot was one of the resulting lots.
Okay, thanks, John.
John, can we bring up all your witnesses? Let me just swear everybody in at once. Maybe we can get through a little faster. I'm going to ask our professionals to stand as well. If you all would raise your right hands, please. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, and for the record, your names, please.
Benedetto Catarinichia.
Michael J. Pesolano, planner.
Giovanni Manilio, engineer.
William Burr, board engineer.
Catherine Sarmed, board member.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, if we can begin by stating your qualifications for the board, including your education, degree held, license held, and whether it's still in good standing, the nature of your practice, and whether you've previously been accepted as an expert in architecture.
Hey, my name is Benedetto Catarinichia. I graduated 1997 from the University of Arizona with a bachelor's in architecture. My practice was started in 2001. Been in business 24 years. I'm currently licensed in New Jersey as well as 14 other states, and it's in good standing. And the practice is a multidisciplinary practice. We do both residential as well as commercial.
We would ask that he be so accepted.
Yes, we accept your credentials, thank you. You know, you say your name, and it's almost like you're singing a song to me, but I'm having a little trouble following it, so your first name?
Benedetto
Benedetto. And your last name?
Catarinichia. Catarinichia.
Catarinichia.
Nichia.
We'll go with Benedetto right now until I get
Call me
better.
Ben.
Thank you.
You're familiar with the site and you prepared the plans that we've submitted to the board?
Yes, I am.
And can you describe the dwelling that we are proposing?
Yes, the dwelling is basically, the home design is a center hall, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 2-story home. The home will have 9-foot first floor ceilings, 8-foot second floor ceilings. On the first floor, it has a chef's kitchen, a family room, a prayer room, living room, center entry hall, and dining room, and a 2-car garage. On the second floor, the home will have a center hallway going up, which will have a master bedroom suite and 3 additional bedrooms upstairs with 3 baths upstairs, full baths. We have a powder room on the first floor. The elevations of the building, it's designed as just a basic center hall home. The house is approximately 4,000 square feet. The finishes on the front will be a combination of a wainscot, which will be a stone-based wainscot on the front, vinyl siding, then we're going to have vinyl decorative siding on the gable ends, and we were proposing stucco on the angled accents on the front of the home. Due to its position on the lot, we did, when we designed it, worked with the client who wanted the prayer room to face northeast. That's why we have the prayer room on that corner of the house. That's pretty much it. The shingles on the roof are just going to be a standard architectural 50-year shingle. Windows throughout, we normally spec out Anderson 400 series windows. Other than that, that's basically the house.
Okay, and the only issue to address in the board professional reports is that you will reconcile the floor area ratio calculations with our engineer, correct?
Yes, and we have done that. The discrepancy in the two areas was I take livable area, he takes outside of wall area, so there was a disconnect, but we confirmed today that they are the exact same areas as the engineer shows.
So the FAR shown on the engineer's plan is the correct one?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions from the board?
On the lot?
I'll let the civil engineer address that. He'll show you exactly how it's positioned on the lot. The front of the house faces the cul-de-sac.
So you have a pretty significant stairway that goes up to an attic space. Is that a occupiable space?
No, it's not going to be occupiable. We put it there just because of storage in the attic. That's all it's going to be for.
Okay. Is it going to be finished or just unfinished?
No, just finished with a floor so they could store stuff up there.
Other questions from the board members? Anyone?
I just have one other one. Is the size of the house consistent with what's in the neighborhood?
Yes. There's smaller and larger ones in the neighborhood. There's a mix.
Okay, thank you.
How wide is the entire front facade of the house?
It's about 60 feet wide.
60?
Yeah, about 60 feet wide.
I did a tour of the neighborhood, and I'm hard-pressed to say that the houses there range in size. This will be huge compared to what else is there.
Yeah, but because we felt it was okay because of its offset from the road.
Well, but let's just make sure that we're straight on this, that
Yes.
it's bigger than anything else on Edgewood Terrace.
On Edgewood Terrace, yes.
Thank you.
What's the story with the back door? What am I missing? Is there no back?
Thank you for pointing that out, because, yes, there is going to be a back door going. We've been going back and forth with the design as to where it's going to enter onto that patio in the back, that concrete patio.
I'm looking, I'm like,
So we are going to put a back door in. I don't know whether it's going to be a slider, but we've been kind of working back and forth with the client on the design of that family room and where the door is going to go. Because we did have to switch the kitchen around a little bit to provide a second staircase that they wanted going up from the kitchen to the upstairs.
I mean, we must have some sort of rules on egress, right? Can we even approve something without a rear?
Well, that's building code. That's building
Building
Okay. There will be a back door, though.
Is that basement fully finished, like?
No, it's not going to be finished at this time, no. Just for storage.
Do we have an elevation on the basement?
No, on the elevations, if you look, just the dotted lines show where the basement is.
And the homeowner understands there won't be a deck?
No, it won't be a deck. In the back, there's a concrete porch going in.
Okay.
Board professionals, questions?
I have no questions for this witness.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Please.
Does the basement have access? Is that what I'm seeing here? Are there steps from the basement? Is there a walkout basement?
No, there's not steps from the, if you look in the center hall, there's a circular staircase that goes up to the middle, and then there's a set of stairs that go down to the basement.
It looks like that. I don't know, is that then, that looks like steps, so
Yeah,
steps down off the
yeah,
patio?
yep.
Okay, thank you.
The height of the building is 3/8 inch shy of the maximum height.
Yes.
So if you're over 35 feet, you may have to come back here to get a variance for the height.
Okay.
I mean, is there
We
any-
won't be, I mean, I can always lower the pitch on the roof to bring it down if we have to.
Okay, just make sure you're so close, right, with construction tolerances, you could easily be over 35 feet.
Yeah, I could easily lower it, but with the pitch, I could lower the pitch and gain probably another 6 inches just to make sure we're clear.
I have a question. You know, from the kitchen area, there is a round staircase that takes you to the upstairs, right?
Yes.
Why are you providing that one?
That actually, we've been working on that back and forth with the client. We're actually going to change that into just a standard staircase going up, but we had to move some things around on the inside to make it work. So we are going to just have a standard L stair going up there from that point.
So that you're not going to have the spiral staircase as you're showing currently?
The spiral staircase, the client didn't want it because it's too tough to bring things up and down. So
Sure.
we're just going to do an L-shaped stair going up.
And you said that there's no exit from the basement other than to the interior of the house? Okay.
I have a question for Bill. Bill, would you recommend that with respect to the height here, I mean, they're only like 3 inches off, right? So would you recommend that there be some spot grades done at the time of framing, just to be sure that they didn't go over the maximum height before they build the whole house?
Normally, one of the requirements is for a foundation as-built plan to be provided to the construction department for that very check, and it usually gets checked by the engineering.
Would you check it again at framing, or you're going to go off the foundation?
Well, a foundation and then probably the grading around the perimeter of the foundation. So that would be a good first check. And then I think, just based on the architect's testimony, that they're going to take a look and just make sure that the height's not pressed right up against the limit. That's probably the best we're going to be able to do. I mean, we could ask for another checkpoint, but foundation time, and then just having a condition that they're going to meet that requirement.
I could also coordinate with the owner we could always lower the first floor down 6 inches and make it 8'6".
Well, you just have to understand you're off by like 3 inches.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could lower the first floor down to 8'6".
Yeah.
8 foot on the second. That'll give us 9 inches clear from the height.
Okay, well, his application, if he wants to propose that,
Yeah, we could.
yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, Catherine, you said you had no questions. Mr. Burr, did you have questions? The architect?
The only question I have is the rear patio. That's going to be a standard concrete or paver block patio. It's not. I think you mentioned a porch. It's not going to be a covered structure.
No, it's not covered.
It's
just
going to be a flat patio.
Yeah, just a flat patio.
Okay. Or a deck, or it definitely wouldn't be a deck.
Right now, we're proposing as it being concrete.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Budget concerns, we maybe end up a deck. I don't know.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to pose questions to the architect about his testimony? And if you do, please come up. And there'll be a sign-in sheet there. Tell us your name and your address. And you have a microphone at the podium, so.
Okay.
And you can adjust that mic for your comfort, so
Okay. Thank
we're all friends here.
Oh, thank you. First, thank you for taking the time to hear my concerns. I'm stuck in a very
Have your
difficult
name first
situation.
before you get,
Yes, I'm Louise Tokarski-Unda, and I live at 23 Vones Lane, but I live in Raritan. However, the entire back lot of this property that's being talked about tonight borders on my property. So I have a lot of concerns about how this construction will impact my property.
and before we get to that, can you spell your last name for me?
Yes, T as in Tom, O-K-A-R-S-K-Y hyphen U-N-D-A.
Thank you. And just want to point out, this is a time for questions only. There'll be another time when you can come up and make a statement, okay?
Okay, well, so my questions are, I see that there is proposed well water, and I was looking at the maps, and it is about 45 feet away from my well water. So I am wondering if that's going to cause a problem with my well water. And I'm very concerned about that.
Unfortunately, that would be a question for the engineer when he comes up to civil engineer.
Okay.
This part, just so you know, so you're comfortable, we heard from the architect, he was talking about the house, the design, the height, width, et cetera, and he covered a lot of information. So what we like to do is have members of the public address his testimony specifically.
Okay.
Then we're going to hear from the engineer next. Yes or no? Yes, we're going to hear from the engineer next. So he or she will have testimony about the engineering, that might be appropriate then to talk about your well. But I don't want to stop you from asking questions, just want to give you some guidance.
Okay, would questions about the grading and the water runoff be for the architect or the engineer?
The engineer.
The engineer, okay. Then I guess the only question I have for you would be, the house seems very tall, and my house is very close to the back end and side of that house. And when I look out my living room window, my sunlight is probably going to be blocked by the height of the house. Is there any possibility that you might reconsider and make it shorter?
Yes, as we discussed with the board, we're going to talk with the client and see if we could lower it a little bit also because of the height restrictions of the township. So yes, it would be lower.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public? Now, remember, we're just questioning the architect about his testimony. There'll be an opportunity to question each of the witnesses, and then at the end, there'll be an opportunity just to voice your opinion about the project, whether you're for it or against it, and what your reasons might be. Any other questions for our architect, Benedetto, whose name I still haven't figured out on the last name, but just say it for me one more time.
Benedetto Caterinichia.
That's so good. Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Sullivan, any questions, anything you want to cover that we haven't covered?
Can I ask a question of the last witness?
I'd prefer not, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next would be our project engineer, Mr. Manilio.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening. And just state your name again, please.
Sure. First name is Giovanni, Giovanni. You call me John. Last name Manilio, Manilio. And I have one exhibit for tonight, and I have handouts as well, so if you don't mind me passing it to the board.
Please.
I also have a USB, if I don't know if you want to put it on the screen, or if it's...
Yeah, if we can get it on the screen, that'd be great.
Just give me 1 second.
Suzanne. We have a technical assistance request.
Yeah, I think you would need to have a computer. You don't have you don't have a laptop. Oh, do you? Yeah, you're going to plug you in on the table?
Overcomplicated. I can show you. As long as everybody has one. I have the handouts. I think we have a couple extra if the...
Okay.
So we'll skip the technology.
So before we even get to your exhibit, can you just review with the board your educational background and work experience, please?
Sure. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Syracuse University. I've been licensed in the state for the past 18 years, licensed in good standing. Testified in front of over 80 municipalities throughout the state. It's been a few years, but I've testified in front of both this board and the planning board on many occasions.
We accept your credentials. Thank you very much.
All right, so now, sorry? Yeah. All right, before we go beyond that, you've given us a handout. We're going to mark that as Exhibit A1 with today's date.
Yep.
And would you just explain what this exhibit is, please?
Yep, it's two views. We have an aerial.
Mr. Chairman, can he turn it around so members of the public can see it?
Sure.
So yeah, we have an exhibit with two views. On the right side is an aerial of the general vicinity with the property highlighted in yellow. On the left is a color rendition of what's being proposed, and the exhibit is entitled Roy Residence Site Exhibit with today's date.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so as mentioned by Mr. Sullivan, this was subject to a subdivision. And as you can see in the exhibit on the aerial, you have the yellow rectangle on the left. The property was subdivided off of is the property to the right, which is almost exactly the same rectangle, which is in the jurisdiction of Raritan. And this parcel is now in the jurisdiction of Bridgewater. The lot is rectangular in shape. It has a width of about 358 feet and a lot depth of 110 feet, with about 55 feet, or exactly 55 feet, in both Raritan and in Bridgewater. Total lot area is 39,420 square feet, which is 0.9 acres. And there was comments about any environmental steep slopes on the property. There are some steep slopes on the property, and that's shown on the left view with the colors of yellow, purple, and blue. Just minor. There's about a little over 1,000 square feet of steep slopes, majority of it being between 11 and 19%. With the steep slopes and the hillside development, the adjusted lot area is 38,794 square feet. And
Sorry, can you give me that number again?
38,794 square feet.
Thank you.
And as I go through the testimony, I'll correct the floor area and the lot coverage as well, because that does get adjusted with the hillside development, just minor. The property is located in the R20 zone, which is a single-family zone, surrounded by single-family residential, and the property is currently vacant and partially wooded. There are some trees that will be removed as part of the application. That's shown on that left view. Those are the tree symbols that are not colored in with just a black outline. There are 8 that are on the site that need to be removed to build a house and driveway and the grading improvements. And then there's 5 off-site for the access to the property from Edgewood Terrace. The rest of the ones that are green are the remaining trees to remain on the site. There's no other environmental constraints, no wetlands, and no flood hazard area on the property. And of course, with any tree that we remove, we'll comply with the tree replacement requirement per the ordinance. As the architect had mentioned, we are proposing to build a new single-family dwelling. So that's shown on the left side in brown. Essentially centered in the site as best as we could, from front to back and left to right. The house will have a 2-car garage and a driveway court in front. We are proposing a driveway from Edgewood Terrace, which is 12 foot in width, which was consistent with what was submitted as part of the subdivision approvals through Raritan, and there may have been some council approval as well as far as right-of-way improvements. But we did receive, I believe, a letter from the fire official requesting for fire safety reasons to be widened to 20 feet. And I don't believe the applicant has any issues with widening that driveway to 20 feet to comply.
You're good with the 20 feet?
Yes, sir. Additional improvements, we discussed the driveway. There is a front walkway and steps that lead to the house. And then there's a rear patio in the back, and we do have AC pads as well in the back. There is a basement, or I believe per the definition of the township, it's not considered a basement, it's considered a cellar, since more than 50% of that floor is below grade. So it's not counted for floor area, so it is a cellar, and it is being proposed. We substantially conform with the zoning requirements. I believe the only variances we're asking for today are the front yard and rear yard, and that's given the shallowness of the site. So it's 110 feet in depth, and there's a requirement for a 50-foot front yard and a 50-foot rear yard, which leaves you a 10-foot sliver to put a house in there. So for a front yard, 50 feet is required, where 35 feet is proposed. Rear yard, 50 feet is required, 33.4 feet is proposed. I did take a measurement from front to back. The house is roughly about 42 feet at the extremities from the bay windows to that back prayer room that protrudes out the back. In comparison, scaling it from the 2 dwellings on Edgewood Terrace, One of them is approximately 35 feet in depth, and the other one's a little over 30. I think it was 32 feet in depth. So it's not substantially greater in depth. It might be, wider and a little bit bigger. But as far as, we tried to conform as much as we could as far as these setbacks for front and rear yard. As mentioned earlier, there is the slopes on the northeast or northwest corner of the property not being disturbed, but to clean up the record, the proposed lot coverage is 9.8%, where 25% is permitted, so we're well under the lot coverage requirement. FAR, I did have a chance to speak with the architect. There's some modifications we'll both make on our plans to make sure they're consistent. The actual floor area is 3,610 square feet, or 0.093, where 0.16 is permitted. Again, the basement is not considered as a floor area because it's considered a cellar. The first floor is 1,747 square feet, and that excludes the 430 square feet of garage space per the definition of floor area. And the second floor is 1,863 square feet. Additionally, as far as the site and the project as a whole, there was questions regarding, is this considered a major development? Because, we gave the calculations on the plans for the improvements on the site. I don't believe we gave, and we typically don't, show the coverage for improvements that are not on the site. So I do have rough numbers. It's going to go up a little because of the 20-foot, but it would still be compliant with minor development. So as submitted with the 12-foot driveway, the total impervious is 6,038 square feet, or about, 1/8 of an acre, or a quarter of an acre is permitted before you get to a major development. And disturbance is a little under a half acre, where an acre would trigger a major development. With the changes to the 20-foot driveway, there'll be slight increases, but they'll definitely not trigger a major development for this project. The site currently grades, the way that the site grades, it grades from Edgewood Terrace down to the site. And then as you get to the house, right now, naturally it goes kind of to the northwest, to the north, and to the northeast. So it kind of, spreads out towards all of Raritan and a little bit to the back of the Wegmans or Bridgewater Town Center shopping center as well.
Can I ask you to pause for just a moment?
Sure.
When you're referencing the drive, and we have this requirement that the fire official has asked you to comply with to make it a 20-foot drive, that you're okay with that. And I need some help here trying to understand how that drive, that extension of what is essentially a road becomes a driveway. And is that part of the property? It's just an easement? So I'm looking for a little guidance, either legally or from an engineering point of view. Mr. Burr, you have an opinion.
I will try my best to answer. So what you have is you have a public right-of-way.
Yes.
That extends and includes what we're calling the dead end of Edgewood Terrace.
Right.
And that extends just beyond the two homes towards the Bridgewater side of
Yes.
this lot. And then there's an unimproved right-of-way that extends all the way up to the property line of this new lot.
Okay.
So the applicant is proposing to install what we'll call a driveway access to the new dwelling. There's a question in Catherine and my memo about whether or not that should be improved to municipal standards.
Right.
With the main point being providing safe access for emergency services. The fire official late this afternoon issued a memo recommending a 20-foot wide driveway at minimum be constructed. I think the existing roadway, if I'm not mistaken, and John, maybe you can confirm this, is 24 feet. So the curbed width of the existing roadway is 24 feet. What the applicant is now currently proposing as of tonight is a 20-foot driveway extension to the new dwelling.
Right.
And that 20-foot driveway would extend through the unimproved municipal right-of-way, and then it would also extend into the property and provide access directly to the new dwelling.
Okay. And are you still then requesting that it be brought up to municipal standards, which you said was 24 feet?
I think it's a conversation that the board should have. My main point in raising that was to ensure that there was adequate width and maneuverability for emergency services. If the fire official is saying 20 feet, it's going to be a private driveway.
Yes.
One of the conditions would be, and in a prior resolution, there was a prior resolution that I think maybe in his introduction, Mr. Sullivan mentioned, there was a 2023 resolution that the governing body for Bridgewater adopted, speaking about the use of that right-of-way or the improvements within that right-of-way.
Yes.
And there's clear conditions that state any improvements are going to be privately owned and maintained. The township will not be held harmless, or they will be held harmless from any issues in the future. So that condition needs to carry through if this board is inclined to approve, but it would be a private driveway, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
And
To
frankly,
continue on
any-
that question, the existing paving stops at a certain point, and it's a very long thing that goes into the property. Is the property owner going to pay for it, or is the township going to pay for the extension?
This would all be privately paid for.
It will all be done by the property owner.
The property owner, should the application be approved, they would be responsible for paying for any of the improvements.
Entire length.
For the driveway, any of the drainage improvements, there's going to be a sanitary sewer connection that needs to come down and connect to Edgewood Terrace. That all gets paid for by the applicant.
And does the township get involved in any aspect of that extension at all?
Involved as far as inspections or?
Inspection, designing, whatever.
Yeah, so if this application gets approved, the next step would be a lot grading plan would be submitted to the construction department that would be reviewed by engineering when the construction permit applications are being requested. With that will be a few periodic site inspections of whether it be the dry well installation, the driveway installation, the sanitary sewer. So there will be inspections.
Good.
And then at the time of a CO, it would be inspected as well.
And you established that there is a connection to the sanitary sewer, but there is no public water connection available to you.
That is correct, yes.
Right. And hence the earlier question, even though it was at the wrong time, about your well and its proximity to the neighbor's well.
So right now it's showing.
So I think you heard her question, even though it wasn't posed to you, but having two wells that close together doesn't sound right to me. What is your opinion?
Yeah, so obviously we put it schematically. It has to get approved by the, I believe, Board of Health for the drilling of the well. So we're not locked in that location. The applicant's okay with moving it, so it doesn't disturb any other neighbors' wells as well.
Right.
So we have
And
no.
typically, when you're having to rely on well water, you've got to choose the site appropriately based on other wells. Are there, maybe I'll ask Mr. Burr, are there specific distances required somewhere?
Normally, you like to be 50 feet from the property line.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have an adjacent property, then added together, it's 100 feet.
Yes.
But certainly, as John mentioned, that's going to need to be reviewed by way of a future application by the Board of Health to install
Right.
that well. So as long as the testimony is that that well could be moved to a location to be compliant with those requirements, then I think that's satisfactory.
Yeah, so typically when the well driller files for the permit, they'll do a request to find out the location of all other wells in the vicinity. And then they'll pick a location for the well and file that permit. But yeah, we have no issues moving the well.
So if I were living in Ms. Tokarski's house, I shouldn't be worried because you're going to site the well in such a way as to create the distances required for not only safe drilling, but also so we're not somehow contaminating each other's water supply.
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are all the houses on Edgewood Terrace and the extension on a well, or?
I believe the extension is, the original subdivision plans that were given to us, done by another engineer, did show a water line. During our research, I think the water line is all the way towards 202, and it stops at some point over there. So it's not that whole development.
Okay, so many of the houses that are on this are on wells.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the driveway, that would become an access easement? for
Well,
the
it's still a
owner?
public right-of-way, so I believe the town will have access to it because it is their right-of-way. As Mr. Burr was referring to, there was a resolution in 2023 that granted improvements to be built in the right-of-way, kind of a hold harmless, saying that, you know, the applicant's responsible for maintenance, the town's not responsible for any, you know, injuries or misuse of that road. So yeah, so there's definitely access to that.
Okay. Then the road leading up to that point, I guess we heard, is about 24 feet wide, curb to curb?
Correct.
I mean, is there any issues with kind of cars having to turn around or emergency vehicles having to turn around? Should there be like a cul-de-sac?
The problem with the cul-de-sac is that the bulb, the circle, is bigger than the right-of-way that's out there today. And then once you put the right-of-way that's associated with the cul-de-sac, it doesn't work without taking property either from the applicant, which would essentially take most of his property from back to the front, or taking property from the neighbors. So a cul-de-sac at this point is...
Right, but you have a 50-foot right-of-way, right? So you have about 12 feet, 13 feet on both sides. I understand typically cul-de-sacs, you need like an 80-foot diameter, I think, something like that. I mean, but couldn't you still provide some sort of, you know, better turn, you know, even like a sort of turnout lane, kind of to do in K-turns? I mean, is that typically provided in this? What would be proper like roadway design, you know, if you're building this cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah, so if this was a subdivision, which it's not part of this application, I mean, that actually probably should have been requested by Raritan at the time of the subdivision for a cul-de-sac if they wanted it. At this point, it's an existing lot. We're not building a roadway, we're building a private driveway that accesses one lot. You know, there's only 3 houses on that little extension, 2 of them which, you know, presently are there and does have a dead end with no turnaround as well.
Mm-hmm. Could I get Mr. Burr's opinion on that?
Yeah, we raised a very similar comment in our review letter about emergency turnaround areas. I agree with the applicant's engineer. There's not enough room in the existing right-of-way for a formal cul-de-sac, but I think there's an opportunity for something along the lines of like a hammerhead. I've seen applications before where the actual driveway turnaround near the dwelling. In fact, this board had an application, I think, last year off of Eisenhower that included a turnaround, the provisions for a turnaround into the driveway area. So I think it's a reasonable request, and I think it's something the applicant should look into. The fire official didn't specifically raise that issue, but he wants a 20-foot wide driveway getting to this dwelling. There's got to be a way to turn around those vehicles in the event of an emergency. I don't think it's reasonable to expect a couple hundred feet for a fire truck then to back out. So I would encourage the applicant to take a look at that. And I think it can be accomplished.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
I just, while we're asking questions, I just want to talk about the trees for a moment. I don't understand why the trees to the west of the paved driveway, you've got 4 trees there. Why are those being removed? Especially because, you know, that's leading into the slope, the northwest slope.
No, we will definitely relook at it. I did look at it before I got here, and it looks like we probably could save 1 or 2. Some of it is needed for the grading, but we'll definitely look to see if we could.
Really, yeah, in this town, we really cherish our trees. and to echo former chairman, Mr. Foos, about steep slopes and how serious we take those, you know, for a lot of reasons. So I think that would be great if you could do that. I mean, I could go on but I think just overall, I think maybe we could save a few more, but thank you.
No, I agree. I don't think the applicant wants to cut trees or plant trees and spend money, so we'll work on that.
Mature trees.
Is the applicant willing to plant trees?
Oh, yeah, we have to meet the requirements for the replacements.
Okay.
Yes.
Was any thought given in the design of the layout of the house to turning it another way so that, because the effective backyard with that very small patio is like 30 feet from the property line. If the facade, the front facade was turned the other way, the effective backyard would go to the west on this map. In the future, there's like no room for anybody to put a bigger patio or a deck. I don't think anything there. So it's very limited to these owners or to anybody in the future. And if you go with this plan, I hope they understand that that's pretty much the limitation of what they're going to get as far as a backyard.
No, that is correct. I think in the planning phases, the purpose was to try to keep it as shallow as possible, so we're not asking for more variances than we needed for the front and rear yard. And the applicant was okay with it. He did talk about putting a door to the east, just for religious purposes, but other than that, I believe he wanted the house facing, you know, as you enter the driveway. To just get back with the turnaround, so we had discussed an option. So the applicant's okay with granting some type of access easement on his property. So he does have a, turnaround court in front of the garage, which is about 45 feet wide. We could actually make it a little bit wider and put it kind of in front of that walkway to give it almost like a hammerhead. And that would serve a purpose for fire or emergency vehicles to come onto a site and make a turnaround. And we could work with your board professionals and the fire official.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Are there other questions from the board or the board professionals? I'd like to open the floor to the public to ask questions specific to the engineering testimony now, so you're welcome to do that. Just come up, let us know your name and address if you have questions of the engineer. You're welcome to come back up.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you would have
Sorry,
an
but
answer
before
to
you-
my question.
sorry, just for the record, would you just announce your name again?
Louise Tokarski-Unda.
Thank you.
So you were mentioning that there has to be a certain distance between wells. And I think you had said something about 50 feet from the edge of the property. So I was looking at the map. The distance between my well and the proposed well is only 45 feet. And my question is this: I had seen that, and I contacted the Borough of Raritan to ask what the rules are about how close wells can be, because I'm concerned. And they said they really didn't know. So then I asked Bridgewater, and Bridgewater wasn't sure. And then what I learned was Raritan says it does not know where Bridgewater wells are, and Bridgewater doesn't seem to know where Raritan wells are. So my question is this: would you actually be able to get the information about where my well is? Because I'm in Raritan, even though my property shares a big, long border with this property. Because it could be that you don't know that there's a well right there, just because it's a different borough.
Yeah, so thank you. So to answer your question, so yeah, I think we did testify that we will move it and we can move it. Speaking to the applicant, he actually would prefer to have it on the right side of his house instead of the left side. And furthermore, if the board wants to make a condition, we could field locate, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but your well, and make sure that we're compliant.
I think it would be prudent to identify the wells that are going to be impacted by the well that you propose. And typically, the property owner knows where that well is, even if you don't, and they should be able to identify the location of their well, and then you should be able to survey those who would be affected as a condition of any approval.
Correct. We could locate the wells, and obviously we'll comply with the state regulations. So if the state.
Mr. Burr, that would make sense to you from a well drilling perspective?
It would, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a good idea to locate and show the wells, at least on the immediately adjacent properties.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then have the plans updated to reflect those.
So on both properties on that northerly side? Looks like there's two houses to the north, right?
Yes, yep. Well, one of them is labeled as, okay, yeah, I see it now. Yes. Both properties on the rear of this property, or the north of this property.
And what about the ones on Edgewood Terrace along the access road? There are two properties there. Is that, with those, because we're talking about the Raritan ones and the Bridgewater ones. I don't know where those wells are either, so.
It shouldn't be terribly difficult for the applicant's engineer to locate those as well at the end of
Right.
our portion of Edgewood Terrace.
Yes.
So yes, as we're talking, 4 properties in the immediate.
That makes sense to you?
Makes sense.
Very well. So we'll make sure that we've identified the wells on the adjacent 4 properties, and then you will locate your well in the appropriate place.
Correct.
Very well, thank you. Any other members of the public? Oh, Ms. Armat has a question.
Mr. Chairman, just a few things, because I was remiss in not asking questions or bringing things up. Just related to, I guess, these plan changes or, potential things that need to be shown on the plans.
Yes.
If this application is approved, hopefully it'll be a condition that the applicant agrees to. Just all of the things that have been discussed so far, the addition of the steep slopes and the impact of the hillside development calculation, the floor area ratio calculation, those should just be updated on the plan so that they accurately reflect what's being proposed.
Yes.
And in relation to the floor area ratio, because there was a question in our review memo, I would just ask that the engineering plans and the architectural plans include that the finished basement area, the area of the basement be noted as unfinished, so
Yes.
that it is not included as part of the FAR calculation. In the future, if it, in any way, the house was expanded or the basement was finished, it would just have an impact, and so to have that marked on the plans would be useful.
And Mr. Oler, were you following all the conditions that Ms. Armat was
I have them all.
outlining?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Burr, any further commentary on that or the engineering testimony?
Just a few additional questions, Mr. Chairman, for John. So what you didn't testify to, and I think I had mentioned it earlier, was the proposed sewer connection for the dwelling. If you could just give the board a quick overview of that, just so they know where the public sewer would drain to, and then I may have a follow-up question.
Sure. So there's the existing sanitary main that does come up the extension of Edgewood Terrace, and it pretty much ends at a manhole located kind of right in between the 2 driveways of those 2 houses in the middle of the road. Our proposal, and again, which follows the approved subdivision plans, is a lateral that comes from the house all the way down to that manhole. There were some comments from, I believe, not the township engineer, I'm not sure his
Sewer
title.
utility?
Sewer utility, requesting that we do an actual extension of the main up to the property and not tie into the manhole. We'll leave it up to the board. I mean, I feel like if we extend the main, that's more maintenance for the town to maintain that sewer line from the extra 175 feet, rather than the lateral. That would be the responsibility of the homeowner. But if the board feels strongly to extend the main, we will, and we'll follow the proper permits from the state to do that.
What's the alternative to extending the main?
Our proposed alternative is to bring a lateral down to the sewer main that's in Edgewood Terrace.
I see. So if you were to run your lateral as you propose, is there a difference in what's the difference, I guess, is what I want to say?
The difference is the size, so our lateral is going to be a smaller line. If it's
Right.
a sewer main, it'll be an 8-inch extension. Again, it's servicing 1 lot, so bringing an 8-inch line 175 feet seems a little bit much, but again, it's not a improved road. It's going to be a private driveway. There's the whole harmless.
Wouldn't your lateral be running the same distance?
Correct.
Yeah. So, Mr. Burr,
you know, if there were other vacant properties in this area that could potentially connect or benefit from an extension,
Yes.
it would make sense to do that. In light of the fact that it's really just going to be one house, I did speak with Mr. Genova earlier today, the director of or the manager of the sewer utility, and, you know, he was okay with the lateral. What he didn't want to see is that it was being connected to the manhole. So I think if John could revise his plans, just connect downstream of the manhole into the existing sewer main.
Yes.
With the appropriate details being shown on the plan, I think the lateral would suffice.
Yeah, and we have no objection to that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a 6-inch lateral I see on plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Additional questions for the engineer?
One more question, actually.
Please.
It's two parts, both having to do with, I guess, utilities or refuse and snow plowing at the end of Edgewood Terrace. So, John, right now, that's just a dead end. There is no cul-de-sac, as we know. There is no turnaround of the actual improved part of Edgewood Terrace. And as I understand, DPW, when they're plowing snow, they just push it right to the end of that roadway, which happens to be right where you're proposing to put the driveway. So how do we reconcile that so that in the future, if and when this driveway gets built and DPW is continuing to do their snow plowing operations, they're basically going to be burying the entrance of this driveway? And we can't have a situation where now DPW is being called out to open up that driveway opening. You know, how do you propose we reconcile that? Is there a way, or is there a way that we can realign the driveway slightly to accommodate a snow area, or
Yeah, I think.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we could shift the driveway to one side or the other side. I'm hoping, when DPW does see that new driveway over there, they're not going to plow that in. They're going to try to push it to the side a little bit to save the homeowner from cleaning out his apron. But at the end of the day, that driveway is the responsibility of the applicant or homeowner to clean out.
Yeah, they're going to do their best, but it's just, they canvassed a lot of roadway.
Yes,
in a
yeah, no, I
snowstorm,
understand.
and there's a lot of these situations that we don't want to create any more of them, so.
Yeah, so we could
You
definitely
could
shift.
take a look to shifting it, maybe opening up an area where it would make life a little easier for them. I'm sure they would appreciate that. And then same with garbage or refuse. Is the proposal that the applicant would take their garbage and recycling cans down their driveway to the end of Edgewood?
Yeah,
And maybe picked up by one of the,
private haulers.
haulers?
Yes.
How would the county recycling be accommodated?
Same way, they would have to bring it down to the apron or edge of the driveway.
And turn the recycling truck around somehow.
Well, so there's no change to that extension. I would assume the truck comes down there ready for the two houses. So I don't know if they back out. I don't know how they operate, to be honest with you.
Okay. Any additional questions, engineering testimony? Members of the public, please step forward if you have a question. Tell us your name and your address, please.
My name is Dolores Watkins, and I live at 25 Bonds Lane in Raritan. So my question is mostly regarding the grading and the mature tree removal. I am the upside-down T house on this schematic, 25 there. And as it stands as a vacant lot with many mature trees, we have a lot of water runoff during storms that travels down to our breezeway, which is basically our front door. And we've had flooding in the 8 years that we've lived there. We have had our basement flooded twice already, with substantial investment by us to try to improve that and remediate that. So certainly the removal of the trees and the building of this new house does concern us for those reasons. The grading that is proposed, is that a steeper incline from where the house stands towards the north end? Or is it changed from what it is naturally now?
Yeah, so the grading on the north end is a little steeper than what's out there today. So from a grading and stormwater standpoint, we are actually capturing, and we designed to pick up not only what's on the site, but the runoff coming from the new driveway off-site. And we're designing it per the township requirement to contain 85% of what's called the 100-year storm. So we have a series of dry wells where the water will infiltrate into the ground. And we're actually picking up with a swale on the, I guess, east side of that driveway to pick up that water. So not only will it pick up that water, it will pick up the water that's coming from the existing Edgewood Terrace. Essentially, all the roof area, the driveway area is going to be captured and put on the ground and infiltrated into the ground and not go overland to the properties behind us.
Do you feel that that is an improvement to the way the site currently drains, even though it's vacant?
Correct, yes, it's definitely an improvement from what's there today.
And your home is on Bones Lane, you said? And currently, some of the water that comes into your yard, I guess, or your property is coming, it's hard to say because it's also the adjacent lot, which it will remain vacant. The one that technically is, as I'm looking at this drawing, that doesn't help you, we can get you a copy, but it's to the right.
Yeah, the house up there. It does still pitch that way. There's actually like I don't know what you call that, the natural spring that runs between my house and the neighbor in front of us, which does fill up and looks like a spring after a couple days rain or a heavy rain and then dries out when we've had a couple of dry days. So certainly there's like a funneling of water towards the north end and then it goes all the way down to like a pond type thing that is mostly, everything kind of pitches towards the north. And the name of this town, the Roderer Lane, goes down that way. You can see that there's a containment for the water there between Roderer and Esposito Lane. So, water is something that we contend with, certainly a lot, and something that we...
Well, it's a concern of ours as well, and that's why when we talk about the water management on the property, we're looking for, one, not to make it any more impactful than it currently is, and it's going to be improved to the 100-year standard, so that should help reduce the flow it'll absorb the flow from the construction, and it'll improve the flow from this property downstream. Is that your testimony as to the engineer?
Yes, sir, and it'll be subject to review by the township engineer as well.
Right. And Mr. Burr, do you concur that that is an effective plan for managing the stormwater on this site?
Yeah.
Would you like to see something improved?
The only thing I'm thinking, Mr. Chairman, is you have a little bit of a graded rear yard area behind. So you have the new dwelling, and then there's a little bit of a flat area, and then it slopes down.
Right.
And it slopes down directly to, I think, the two members of the public that we've heard from tonight. The only thing I might suggest is maybe there's a swale or a berm that might be able to be cut in at that northern property line, just to provide a little extra protection. Force it to the east where there appears to be a drainage swale on the adjacent property. But as far as the dry well proposal, I think, as long as some of the soil testing that John will take a look at, the soil conditions, as long as they check out, it's an improvement.
Yes.
Right now, there's nothing. It just all sheet flows down there. So that at least is going to force the water from the new roof of the house as well as this driveway. It's going to force it into the ground, which is a good thing. So that's the only thing I would add is if there's a way we can just get a little extra protection there along that northerly property line.
Yes.
I think it'd be a much needed improvement.
And Mr. Manilio, that's acceptable to your client?
Yeah, we'll work with your professionals on that.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Please.
Just in the process of the proposed construction, will all access to this construction site come from the proposed driveway? I think when the subdivision was happening, there was some tree removal that came down our driveway to, I guess, best approach it, but just asking if all construction vehicles and tree removal will happen on that proposed driveway.
Yeah, that is correct. The only access to the site is from Edgewood Terrace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions from members of the public? If not, any last-minute items before we let Mr. Manilio retire? Well, not formally, but.
What about delivery drivers and things? Is the idea they're going to go right down and into the driveway?
Yeah, leave it up to the delivery drivers, but I'm sure
They'll have
them
to
will.
back out.
Well, so that area, like we talked about in front of the garage, is 45 feet wide. So that's pretty big for, delivery vehicles to make that turn. And we agreed that we'll make it a little wider as well, so.
I saw one other person who wanted to ask a question. Did you want to come up to the podium, please? And tell us your name and your address.
My name is Denise Santafonte. I live at 27.
Get a little closer to the microphone, please. I know it's awkward, but we all get used to it. It's no big deal. And that way we can hear you.
Denise Santafonte. I live at 27 Bones Lane, in front of everybody else, down on the slope.
Okay.
Before you go any further, can you spell your last name, please?
Sure. CentofantI.
Thank you.
So I'm on the front side where they're talking about that little drainage that comes down. And I have some video, I don't know if anybody would like to see that, about when a storm happens, how that whole wood strains and comes through my property. So I'm also going to be impacted if that water is pitched to my side. My land floods too. When we try to cut the grass, we get the lawnmower stuck in it. We can't cut the grass for a week or so when it's really heavy rain because it turns into a marsh. So if this is going to create more water, I don't see how it's going to create less water. You're taking up an oversized house, which is requiring variances to build it, and blocking the water. So how do you force the water into the ground when stuff is already coming over the ground and impacting my neighbors' houses, which are below grade from this house, which is a my, and this whole woods drain into our properties?
Well, it's a fair question. I know that Mr. Manilio can answer your question from a stormwater management perspective, because what you're asking is, how can you build something and still improve the drainage from the site?
I'll show you video.
Well,
No, we can't really. You'd have to have it on a stick, otherwise you have to leave us with your telephone.
I could email
No.
it to you, but, I had an issue when they developed next to me, and I was promised that we wouldn't have water issues because the houses they developed next to me were below grade. Well, guess what? They filled it up, so now I'm the below grade. And
You're downhill from
my
them.
side.
And is that property also in Raritan?
Yes,
Yeah. So what we're looking to do
4 feet tall.
in answering your questions is to have Mr. Manilio address it from an engineering and stormwater management perspective, and then we validate that with our own professionals, our own engineers. And typically, when we make a proposal, there may be a room for improvement, which was what we talked about earlier, which was at the northern end of the site, a kind of berm or drainage area that would handle the water as well. So, Mr. Manilio, could you address that?
Stand to the side. Yeah, so as far as the existing conditions, if the water gets there today, we are going to capture more water from Edgewood Terrace that is going to the neighbors' properties. And just to kind of give a sense, I know we throw out 2-year storm, 100-year storm, it really doesn't mean anything, but we're capturing the volume. So if a 100-year storm happens, supposed to happen 1% of the time, every 100 years per se, but it doesn't. It happens more often. So if there's a volume that's generated by that storm, the system is going to hold all that water. So eventually it will infiltrate into the ground. Your typical storms, which is considered your 2-year storms, happens, kind of like we had yesterday, is probably a third of the volume of a 100-year storm. So the system is, oversized for your typical storm system or storm runoff.
Yeah, and without knowing your property, I don't know where else you might be getting water from, but we do know, based on the engineering, and the engineers agree, based on the solution that's proposed, that it will reduce the water flow from this site as it might be draining now.
I just have a question.
Please, Ms. Rose?
Our rules Bridgewater Township's rules about stormwater management the same as Raritan's rules about stormwater management? As far as you know?
I don't know. What I would say is the major development rules are probably the same, but every town is unique how they require applicants to manage minor projects, like smaller projects like this. We don't have strict requirements. We have, and we included it in our memo, it basically speaks in generality that no negative impacts can be caused to downstream properties. And I think that's where the applicant's engineer is proposing the dry well to make sure that any of the improvements on this lot are not going to cause any more of a negative impact than already might exist. But it doesn't get into specifics. I'm not sure about Raritan's ordinance.
So if the remediation that you're planning doesn't do it, we have Raritan residents that have to complain to Bridgewater? How does that work? Because since we're,
Yeah, I would, they could go to Raritan. They would probably come to Bridgewater, though, since this was an application that was approved by Bridgewater.
okay.
I think we're going to include some conditions in the resolution, assuming that this gets approved. There's going to be some conditions that the applicant is going to have to revise their plans, install drainage, maintain the drainage improvements. And frankly, I think if this thing gets built and there's issues with it, then we're going to go back to the applicant and ask them to address them.
Okay, and you're sure of that?
Well, I'm not sure that they're going to address them, but if we hear from folks that this project, for whatever reason, has caused a negative impact, then we're certainly going to go back to the applicant and show them the resolution and ask that they address those issues. But the enforcement is always a tricky part.
I also think it's worth mentioning that we can't solve the entire water, if there is a water problem, as the residents maintain, we can't solve that problem if it's not coming from this site. So the applicant is responsible for this site and making the improvements that they suggested, given their conversation with you. But if the water's coming from someplace else, can't control for it.
Correct.
Okay. You can come back up. I'm sorry, you have to talk into the microphone. Remember the
Again,
YouTube
announce-
rule? Tell you
Yes,
us who you are.
I'm Louise Tokarski.
Right.
So I think I can answer your question. When I was making phone calls to ask questions about the schematics for this property, Raritan told me that even though I'm a resident of Raritan, if this property impacts my house, because the property is listed as Bridgewater, that it's under Bridgewater's jurisdiction, and that Raritan would not do anything, that it would be the burden of Bridgewater. That's what Raritan told me.
That's exactly what I would expect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
For the engineer, the dry well is, with the construction, is all the runoff from the construction going to be directed toward the dry well?
All the impervious, so there's going to be some surface runoff that still goes off,
The
but
roof,
the roof, the
driveway.
driveway, correct.
Very well. Board professionals, are we done with Mr. Manilio?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Sullivan,
Oh, yes, nothing further.
okay. Would you call your next witness, please?
It'll be our planner, Michael Castellano.
You're going to remind us of your credentials, et cetera, once you get settled.
Good evening. Again, my name is Michael J. Pesolano. That's spelled Pessolano. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. Previously qualified by this board in the past 5 years on several occasions. My license remains in good standing. I could go deeper to my specific qualifications if you wish, but in the interest of time, if that's sufficient.
We do recognize your testimony from earlier appearances, and we accept your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that courtesy. I do pledge to be brief because there are very few moving parts in the zoning realm to address here in my testimony. You heard testimony of the architect and engineer about the nuts and bolts aspects of how the site would come into be if it were approved. Part of that journey is for the board to decide whether the required and requested variance relief meets the criteria for approval. And I was hired by the applicant to evaluate the application from a planning perspective on that very question. Does the application meet the required criteria or not? In part of my preparation, I did visit the site, walked the land with the applicant actually quite extensively, spent some time on the properties to the rear. The neighbors who have appeared tonight, I'm fairly familiar with their perspective on the property, as well as those on Edgewood Terrace that are would be oriented to the front of the proposed dwelling. I did ask Mr. Sullivan to distribute an exhibit. Mr. Aller, what number shall we give that?
We're going to mark this as A2 with today's date, and Mr. Pesolano, would you just tell us what we have here, please?
Gladly. It's a 6-page exhibit that includes tax map excerpt on the first page, zoning map excerpt on the second, an aerial image with annotations by myself on the third page, a Google map that shows approximate building footprints and streets and property lines on the fourth page, and then the last 2 pages are 8 ground photos taken by myself. And you can see on those photos there are no leaves on the trees taken when there was no leaves on the trees. So without further ado, 2 elements of zoning relief are required. One is a front yard setback where 50 feet is required, 35 feet is proposed. A rear yard setback where 50 feet is required and 33.4 feet is proposed. We have heard testimony about how the access will be provided to from Edgewood Terrace right up to the subject property. So it will have, in my view, very decent, adequate access. So that's not an issue. But the lot itself is 55 feet deep from front to back. It's exceptionally wide, over 350 feet in width, but exceptionally shallow at 110 feet in depth, especially where the front and rear yards are required to be a total of 100 feet. That leaves 5 feet of building envelope, which is entirely impractical, as you can imagine. So I believe very bluntly that this condition, this qualifies the both elements of relief to meet the hardship standard. And the hardship standard has 2 elements, positive criteria and negative criteria. The positive criteria is satisfied because of the applicant's inability to make the lot any deeper and create conforming yards. So to place a reasonably usable home on this site would be a hardship if the board did not grant the front yard and rear yard relief that's requested. The negative criteria for the hardship standard is a 2-part test. One is would the application, if approved and developed, impose a substantial detriment on the public good, and the public good meaning the immediate surrounding neighborhood? The second part is, would granting of relief as requested promote an impairment of the intent and purpose of the zone plan or the zoning ordinance for the township of Bridgewater? So let me just touch on the negative criteria. I believe the positive criteria is clearly met pursuant to the statute that governs this board's authority to decide applications, Section 70 of the Municipal Land Use Law, subsection C, further subsection A, which deals with, which authorizes hardship variances due to physical features such as what I just described affect this property, an exceptionally narrow lot. I'm sorry, exceptionally shallow lot and exceptionally narrow lot may also qualify, but as I stated, we have plenty of width, but not enough depth to comply. As to the negative criteria, I don't see any detriment that would rise to the level of substantial here. Yes, there would be something new on the landscape, but the zone plan for both communities says let's have dwellings here. And so the applicant is proposing a permitted use, a reasonably sized dwelling, conforming, more than conforming side yards, more than conforming lot coverage, but isn't able to attain the front and rear yard distances. I want to say that I believe on the rear side of things towards the homes in Raritan, that community relies on a 35-foot front and rear yard setback requirement for the spatial arrangements of its dwellings in the R2 zone, which is on the Raritan side of things. Here in the R20 zone in Bridgewater Township, those measures are 50 feet each, front and rear. But coming back to the impact question, 33.4 feet is what's proposed going to the rear property line from the rear of the proposed dwelling. Then you have a paved driveway that gives access to to the flag lot that is at the very rear to the north and west of the subject property. So no living space is impaired here, where a 35-foot setback distance is what the town, borough of Raritan wants for its dwellings. So I think we have a realistic and reasonable fit there. Looking on the other side, the front-facing side towards Edgewood Terrace, the existing dwellings, and I should actually go through the rest of my exhibit to further emphasize what I'm talking about here. So the tax map on sheet 1 of A2 shows two lots, 6.02 and 6.03, on a curved section of the Edgewood Terrace layout, the right-of-way. And they're amply spaced from the proposed dwelling. Actually, those two lots are quite a bit larger than the typical lot in the Edgewood Terrace development proper between Route 202 and the block limit that you see on sheet 1 of A2. The zoning map is just for reference purposes. We have a small section of the R20 zone that the subject property abuts two other zones, the RMDU8 and the M1 zone, generally to the west. And as I said, the R2 zone lies directly to the north in Raritan Borough. So going on to the third sheet, which is the aerial image, I embellished with annotations similar to what I just mentioned. The site is surrounded on three sides by detached residential, presumably all single-family dwellings. There is vacant land that's zoned M1 to the west of the subject property. Then I think the most valuable map rather, in this Exhibit A2 is a representation of the proposed dwelling, which how I arrived at placing that there. I traced the outline of the footprint and shrunk it down and used reference points around it to cite the shape of the footprint. Mr. Manilio did a more exact job, and I would rely on his, that was in his exhibit for accuracy. He has dimensions, but he has a much bigger scale setting to work with. My point in placing this proposed footprint is to show relative to the dwellings around it. It's a reasonable fit. It's not exactly the same size. None of the dwellings appear to be exactly the same size. Maybe some are, but I did not do a measurement around the clock all the way around the subject property. It says to me visually that there is a mix of dwelling sizes, and this is neither the largest nor the smallest that is proposed. Going on to the ground photos, provided me the walk through the property with Mr. Roy was informative because it's an unusual piece of property, so I really wanted to understand its relationships to what's around it. In image 1 on sheet 5 of 6 is our 2 vehicles parked at the end of Edgewood Terrace. Image 2 shows the dwelling that would be, if you're looking at the subject property from Edgewood Terrace, it's the dwelling on the right, just before you get to the subject property. Image 3 in the lower left captures a look through the wooded nature of the property as it exists today, and so does image 4. I believe that sight line to the dwelling to the rear is roughly along the eastern property line of the subject property. Finally, sheet 6 of 6, dwelling at number 25 Vones Lane is shown there. The driveway in the foreground goes to another dwelling that is out of the image to the left. You can see that in image 6. That paved driveway provides access back to a property in the woods at number 23 Vones Lane. Image 7 is back onto Edgewood Terrace. If you're looking at the subject property from the end of Edgewood Terrace, it is the dwelling on the left. And then image 8 shows a front view of the dwelling that's on the right, that's opposite the prior dwelling at 41 Edgewood Terrace. So to me, the intent of the zone plan and zoning ordinance is to provide for adequate spacing around each dwelling so that there's not crowding happening. I do not see any sense of crowding by the proposed dwelling touching down roughly in the center of the shallow property. It still has adequate light and air on all sides, and I believe that it will be harmonious with the neighborhood that it's proposed in. The use that's proposed, again, is a permitted use, so on its face, it is not in conflict with the highest tier of the intent of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance, which is to host permitted uses on this land. The property itself and the proposal, I believe, are nicely harmonized with the existing neighborhood on a site that is in itself surrounded by ample lots with plenty of spacing around the dwellings that occupy them as well. So in conclusion, I believe that the board can, in good conscience, grant the requested relief as it promotes neighborhood harmony. It is a hardship situation, and it satisfies the negative criteria in terms of no substantial detriment to the public order, no substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. I'll stop there and gladly respond to your questions. Thank you.
I just have one question before it goes to the board. And you heard Mr. Manilio's testimony regarding the stormwater management. In your opinion, from a planning perspective, would that be a benefit in connection with this application?
Yes, if this application were conforming as to all yard areas, it wouldn't be before the board. There would be no intent or obligation on a homeowner building a conforming home in this exact spot to provide any stormwater facilities. So by virtue of this application, that becomes a benefit associated with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the board, are there questions for Mr. Pesolano and his testimony? Ms. Rose?
What is your definition of harmonious?
We have a setting that exhibits homes nicely spaced because of the site location. That will extend that same sort of spatial relationship pattern by having a home that is nicely spaced from those in the front and not imposing on those in the rear.
So my definition of harmonious, and perhaps I'm incorrect, is that it sort of looks like a lot of the houses in the neighborhood. Is that not harmonious?
Well, home design is a random thing where it's not in a historic district. This is not an historic district, so there aren't design requirements for the style or height or bulk or whatever of individual dwellings. That's left up to the creativity of the homeowner. So I wouldn't align with the look of the dwelling to reach a conclusion. I try to focus on the spatial relationships, which is what zoning attempts to do on a reliable basis, lot to lot to lot.
So you have a piece of property, you want to build a house on it, you want it to look like a lot of the other houses in the neighborhood, yes?
Generally, if I was building a home, I would like it to look like other homes.
So could we be a little bit more creative and not build a two-story, 2.5-story house? That's only, what, 3 inches short of the requirement for height?
I believe that, I'm sorry.
Differently on the property, be a little bit more creative in the design? Does it have to be a 2-story conventional house?
It does not have to be that. My client wishes to build that type of home.
That's fine, he can wish all he wants.
Thank you.
Any additional questions
Is it
from?
harmonious? Is it harmonious?
Excuse me, just a second.
I'm sorry.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Please.
Is it harmonious to have the back of the proposed dwelling about 70 or 80 feet from the front of the 2 flag lots in Raritan?
I think it is a reasonable compromise. This is an unusual lot, and it is land that is zoned for single-family development. It's not productive today, so it produces a productive use on the land, which is beneficial to the township as a whole. So I don't see a negative coming from following the zone plan, which expects to have homes on actually much smaller lots of 20,000 square feet. This is almost double the lot area that this one home is going to occupy. So it minimizes any sense of crowding or density by virtue of those measures.
Be more harmonious to have that house, the proposed dwelling, situated so that the front looks westerly, the front facade of the house looks westerly, and the neighbors are looking, in essence, at the side of that house.
Well, I think there's some thing to be said for the orientation towards the access that serves the home. That's typically the arrangement of most single-family dwellings. It faces, the front door faces the access that serves it. And my client also, you heard through Mr. Manilio, the preference to have the home face Edgewood Terrace.
But this is also, as you said, an odd lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Board members, any additional questions? If not, I'll go to the board professionals for any questions for Mr. Pessolano's testimony.
The only question I would have is regarding the height of the house as proposed. And from a planning perspective, do you think that height sort of reflects the other homes in the area? Because the home is kind of, looks like the grade is being increased a little bit where the area, the construction will occur. And what are your thoughts on the height of that?
The zoning creates a building envelope within which it could all be filled from corner to corner in the three-dimensional realm, or partially filled. Neither option is violative of the intent and purpose of the zone plan, which is to have buildings that could occupy such a building envelope. So I do not see it encroaching on a sense of light and air by virtue of being close to the height limit. As long as it's under the height limit, I believe that's realistic and adequate in this situation.
I mean, I bring up the height limit just because, so if you're 50 feet away from the property line and at the zoning height, that's a different angle than if you're 15 feet closer to the property line and at the height. You know, that appears taller, right, with perception. So I think kind of it is valid to question the height, you know, if your setbacks are not meeting the zoning, you know, front and rear yard setbacks. So kind of with that sort of, you know, the perception of, or the perspective view, let's say, of someone in the Raritan, you know, properties that are represented here, you know, that sort of height, kind of what is a, you know, how are they sort of seeing that adjacent property? And is that sort of impactful to their zoning because of the kind of the perception, the perspective of the height of this house?
Well, I did hear prior witnesses acknowledge that the height could be lowered through some design tweaks that would diminish the height to be more well below the height limit than almost at it. So I don't see any reason not to explore those options to see where a lower ridge point could be achieved.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sarmad.
I have a question for you.
Mrs. Amin.
Please.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
On page 6,
Yes.
bottom, you show two properties, pictures of two properties. They're two-story high buildings, right?
Which images, ma'am?
On page 6,
There are 4 images, so which are the 2 that you're trying to highlight for me?
image 7 and image 8, right?
Okay.
Those are two-story high buildings. The new building that we are talking about, will the height be something similar to these buildings?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing your question. Could you repeat it, please?
The proposed building that we are talking about here,
Proposed grading?
will the height of that house be similar to these two buildings that we see in the picture?
I do not know the height of the 2 buildings in images 7 and 8.
Because, you know,
I can't
there were some people
give you
who were
an
concerned
accurate
about the
answer.
height of the new building. And so I'm thinking, if they already have these tall buildings there, why would anyone worry about the height of the new house?
Well, here's something to consider that I thought was interesting when I reviewed the 2025 master plan for Township of Bridgewater. The Bradley Gardens area, which this site is at the northern edge of it, according to a map in the master plan. There was an interesting observation that there is a lot of renovation and rebuild activity in the Bradley Gardens neighborhood. So what we see on the ground today may be changing as of right without coming to a board tomorrow to something that's not what is fixed on the ground today. There would be nothing stopping it if the height limit is a certain distance. Those people have the right to go to those height limits. So I'm saying let's not accept this as a permanent situation. In fact, there's evidence that it may be, you know, changing to homes that might have more space in them, because that is what consumers tend to be wanting these days.
So, Ms. Sarmat, did you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. Mr. Pestilano, did you undertake any kind of analysis to see if the house was reoriented in a different way or moved, that the variance relief wouldn't be required? The variance relief for the front yard and rear yard setback?
I didn't do that type of analysis.
Just off the cuff, do you have an opinion if any of the variances would be eliminated if the house were reoriented as the board has suggested?
Well, it's my understanding that the side yard is less restrictive than the front or rear yard. Let me just double check on that dimension. One side yard needs to be 20 feet. The combined side yard needs to be 50 feet. So with those two measures, it's kind of hard to
You know, maybe Mr. Sullivan
give you a direct answer.
give you a copy of A1, because A1 shows a building envelope of about 10 feet wide. Yeah, that one on the left, right?
Yep.
The left side picture.
So with those orientations, it's possible there could be a conforming rear yard, a conforming front yard, perhaps conforming side yards, but I haven't done the measurement. Eyeballing it, it looks like it might be possible. I don't know.
Oh, possible for the side yards, but
The front yard is going to still be associated with the frontage on Edgewood Terrace, though. So turning the house actually does not really yield a different front yard, after all.
right. I mean, the front yard and the rear yard have nothing to do with the orientation of the home, correct? The front yard's established and the rear yard's
Yes.
established. Doesn't matter which way the house is facing.
The rear yard will be opposite the front yard.
Right, so even if you turn the house, you would still have a front yard variance and a rear yard variance, is that right?
Yes.
No matter what you do on this lot, there's going to be variance relief required, is that
The
right?
depth is the pinch point.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
You're welcome.
with that, knowing that basically any way you put the house on, there's going to be a variance relief, do you have any opinion as to what the board's kind of requested about the orientation of the home, and if it could be improved in any way to create a less of an impact on the neighbors and/or create, a more usable backyard space? If you see some of these houses, both to the north in Raritan on that flag lot and the homes along the kind of extension of Edgewood Terrace there, not all of them are oriented in a direction that's necessarily, usual or straightforward to the way the lot is. And so is there any orientation of the home, maybe a turn of it, maybe 30, 45 degrees, that you think would be an improvement?
Well, from my own observation over 4 decades as a planner, people will find yard space for their specific purposes. An example is the lot just to the south. It has a garden, effective, the very generous garden area in the side yard, and that is the more generous portion of that particular lot. So I think that adequate land area exists for either recreational or garden purposes in any of these yards. Particularly the yard to the east would be abutting rear yards further to the east, as I recall the orientation. So rear yard to rear yard, similar type of arrangement could occur, but using the side yard on the subject property. I don't know that anything is gained or improved by twisting or tilting the house to shuffle the orientation of the yard areas. It's there. The land is generously there in terms of square footage.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Burr?
I do not have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'd like to open the questions to members of the public, but your testimony is limited to, I'm sorry, your questions are limited to the planning testimony that Mr. Pesolano has shared with us. Are there any members of the public who would like to pose? Please come up. And just again, for the record, state your name and your address.
Hi, this is Denise Santafonte, 27 Vones Lane. It was discussed about stormwater improvement. So,
We're just asking questions of Mr. Pesolano's testimony. He's a planner, and he testified to those aspects of this application that relate to the planning tests that he has to meet. So he's not the person to ask stormwater questions to.
but where on that lot would those be put, since there's the variance so short of backyard, and that water's going to be pitched to that backyard right into her front yard? How would those containments fit in that planning?
Right, well, when the engineer had testified earlier, he addressed that, so it's unfair to pose that question to Mr. Pesolano. That's not his area of expertise.
Okay,
Thank you.
I didn't understand that. Thank you.
Okay, I think do you have another question? Just hop right up, just time is ticking by.
Sorry, I'll be quick. This is Louise Tokarski from 23 Vones. So you spoke to the house being harmonious with the rest of the neighborhood. That may or may not be true for the folks over on Edgewood Terrace, but you know, I'm one of the two closest houses to this proposed house in terms of distance, right? I'm on the north side, I'm on the back edge of this property. The two houses that share the driveway that go along the back edge of this property were ranch houses. My house is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch house. My neighbor's house is also a 1-floor, a ranch house. To have a 2.5-story house closer to our houses than, you know, the houses on Edgewood Terrace, that's pretty noticeable, right? That is going to block sunlight. We are going to get
You
shadows
just want
cast
to
onto
pose
it.
that somehow as a question, which you're
Well, so my question is there any way that that could be rethought? You know, to again, why does the house need to be that big, and why does it need to, you know, impinge upon the normal variance and, you know, be closer to our houses when the houses, you know, has more space from the houses on Edgewood Terrace?
Well, one of the things that could happen is establishing a buffer in the form of a fence and plantings between the two properties. But on its face, dwelling to dwelling, that's not an offensive relationship in a zone that wants dwellings and dwellings. You know what I'm saying? It's not a negative to have dwellings viewable, and it's not a negative if one is 1-story and the other is 2-story. Any dwelling can achieve the same 2-story height by right. So I don't see that as something that should be perceived as a negative, and certainly not a substantial one. But to answer your question, there may be a way to soften the relationship visually with trees and a fence.
Thank you. At this moment, we'd like to get through we're done with your testimony, we've asked the appropriate questions. We'd like to press on, but we also are in need of some kind of break here. So I'm trying to manage our time as best I can. Mr. Vice Chair, what do you think in terms of?
Let's take a break for 10 to 12 minutes.
And then we'll come back and we should have final deliberations and come to a vote.
We'll finish up at that point.
Sound right?
Yes.
Very well. We'll take a 12-minute break. So as soon as everybody gets in their places, we'll reconvene. Okay, we'd like to reconvene. Ms. Probst, would you make sure everybody's here, please, with a roll call? Here.
Here.
Yep.
Here.
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 Board professionals are here, and Mr. Oler is here. We're good to go. Everybody's here. So what I'd like to do now is to open up the floor to the public who would offer any comments about this. So no questions now, just comments, if you have any. Please come up. Same process. You're getting good at this now, see?
Louise Tokarski, and 23 Bones Lane.
Would you I'm going to swear you in for your statement, okay? So would you
Okay.
raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. I
Thank
do.
you.
Okay. I have some serious concerns about this house. The one you already heard about, well water, right? The other is, you know, that the house is so tall. And again, I understand, you know, the spaciousness of the properties at the end of Edgewood Terrace, but, you know, the properties off the back of that lot, I don't understand why the house has to be closer than it needs to be, right, by law, you know, because that's pretty close. And my neighbor and our driveway is a shared driveway. It goes right behind the edge of that lot. We're concerned about water running down from the regrading, right? The grading that's planned to put in on the backside, the north side of that house, that when it rains, it will just go right downhill into the driveway and go in front of her house and down the driveway in front of my house. You know, we're also concerned because we understand there will be trees removed in this process, and so less water will be, you know, soaked up by the roots of trees. And we're both, you know, downhill from the property already, and with the extra grading, extra downhill. And I just have concerns all the way around, but my biggest is I don't understand why this has to be closer to our properties than the law says it needs to be. I wish it weren't, because I'm concerned about that grading being added to the north side of that lot and what that will do to my house and her house. You know, and I don't feel that the house is harmonious. I looked at the design. It looks like a huge house. You know, we're older houses, smaller houses, you know, and when we look out our front windows, we're going to see this house, right? That's going to take up our view because of how our houses are angled. So that's all I wanted to say. I would just like that to be taken into consideration.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public who have a comment about this project? Again, state your name for the record, please.
Dolores Watkins, 25 Bonds Lane.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I really just want to reiterate my concerns regarding the water. And, you know, I understand the plans and the capture of the water from both the roof line and the driveway. However, you know, in construction of this house, there will be a time where that is not up and operational, and perhaps there will be a vulnerability of that lot to have excess water. My husband and I have already expensed over $100,000 to fix our basement that has flooded twice. We have 2 young kids who love to go down there and play, and to have that damage happen again because we have a large amount of water coming towards our house is highly anxiety producing. You know, if we haven't been really provided on any of the timelines of this construction, when it would start, how long it would take, what's the order of operations of, is the drywall the first thing or the trees the first thing? How long between the trees being removed to the water remediation being put in place? So I think no matter what, there is going to be a time where we are left vulnerable to water coming onto our property, even if the long term will be mitigated. The short term, one storm could really wipe out our basement. So that's what I have concerns regarding.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Any other member of the public wanting to offer a comment about this project? Seeing none, let's close that portion of the meeting, and we'll move to deliberations with the board itself. Oh, I'm sorry, John, did you want to offer your summary comments?
Yes, if I may, thank you.
Please.
Overall, we feel that the application proposes an appropriate use of the property. It's a single-family dwelling in a single-family zone. We also feel it's on an appropriate scale, and I know not everybody here may agree with me, but overall, I think it fits very well into this residential area. Just getting through the legal very quickly, you know, the hardship standard, there's clearly a hardship here. You have an oversized lot, almost double what is required for the zone district, but it's not that deep. It's 110 feet. And to build a house within that building envelope is impossible unless you're putting up a trailer, which is not something that, that any of us want here. We talked a little bit about the orientation, and the applicant would be more than happy to switch the orientation and have the front of the house face to the east. But I can tell you, you know, based on the size and the layout of the house, that's actually going to make this house closer to the rear property line and closer to the front property line than it already is. I know there's been some concerns about height. Overall, this house is going to comply with the height requirements of the ordinance. There's quite a distance between the edge of this house and the houses to the rear. The one that's closest, you know, I think we scaled that at over 100 feet. You know, so it's not going to be, we're not going to be right on top of somebody else's house. You know, and I think the added benefit is, you know, their backyard is going to be shielded from our property by their house. You know, so it's not like we're going to be invading their backyard in any way, shape, or form here. In terms of water, you know, you heard from the two experts, Mr. Manilio and Mr. Burr. Post-development, we're going to have a better situation for the Raritan neighbors than what they have now. I get it that they're concerned, and I'm glad they turned out to tell us what their concerns were. But in the end, the experts tell us, you know, we're going to have a better situation post-development than we do at the current time. So for those reasons, you know, I don't think that there's really any negatives here in terms of what we're proposing. A couple of things I did want to point out. We talked about the restrictive language, and that is that our client has to be responsible for the repairs and maintenance for the roadway, has to hold the municipality harmless. That was all set forth in a resolution passed by the mayor and council, and that's actually already in the deed, the subdivision deed that we have. And I can produce another copy of that for Mr. Aller to look at, but it's actually already in there. In terms of the house style and how it fits into the neighborhood, as I'm looking at Mr. Pesolano's exhibit, you know, the houses that are along Edgewood Terrace, both appear to be 2 stories or more. And in terms of height, you know, I don't think they're a lot different from what we are proposing. In terms of mitigation for the Raritan neighbors, we are willing to put up a fence. We can plant some additional trees along the rear of our property because, you know, we get it. We get their concerns, and we want to be a good neighbor. So for all of those reasons, we would ask you to consider granting the application together with the conditions we've already put on the record.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, if they are open to changing the orientation of the house, what would we do? I think that's a great idea personally, because a house this nice should have a pool and a patio and a deck around it, and you have nowhere to put it without coming back before the board, right? And you may or may not get it. So, my opinion.
Well, I think with the respect to the owner's willingness to reorient the house, the proposal that's before us is as it is now, and
Right.
we're still faced with variances
You're gonna have them either way.
either way.
I just
Right.
mentioned it, so if they're open to it, I just didn't know, if it was something they wanted to do, we wouldn't vote on it as is. Right?
Mr. Oler?
Well, I think if they're going to change the orientation, you'd want to see it on a plan, so that we know what you're approving.
Because I think too, looking at it, that could potentially mitigate some of the neighbors' concerns too, because the orientation, then if it's the house that I think it is, the front would now see past it, it wouldn't see into the back. He raised it as an option, so if that really is an option, he wants to entertain it, and he's willing to entertain it, then
I mean, I fully understand that regardless of what you build there, you're going to need variances, and I don't have a problem with the variance. I have a problem with just taking a two-story house, plunking it on a piece of property, telling me that it looks like everything else in the neighborhood, which it clearly does not. I would rather see something creative that makes, that uses the land that you have, knowing that you're going to have variances regardless of what you build there, because nobody's putting a trailer on the property.
Are we deliberating, Mr. Chairman?
We didn't start that way. We started as a question as to whether.
Sorry.
If it's really something, you brought it up, so I'm just trying to, how we address that.
In terms of answering that, my client is certainly willing to do it. I see some real practical difficulties in this. Not only the fact that we are going to have a shorter front yard and rear yard than we're already proposing, but I think it's also going to affect the hammerhead that we talked about and the turnaround. It's something my client's willing to consider. I mean, he's willing to consider, anything that the board may feel strongly about. I personally don't think it works, given, because we have to put the house, in a particular location here. And I think what we've chosen is the best. Number one, because of where the access comes in. And number two, it puts us kind of equidistance away from both of the homes that are on the Raritan properties. So that's my thought, and that is the kind of the reasoning behind why we proposed everything the way we proposed it.
I think as a practical matter, what we'd like from you is, would you like us to evaluate the proposal as it's been presented? Or would you like to go back to the drawing board and reorient it and then come back to this board and ask us to approve the project as it would look like if you reoriented it?
Or leave it the way it is now.
Right, either one, leave it the way it is, but I mean, I can't expect a vote on something that is in between.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
Mr. Kataranecki also mentioned that he could do something with the height. I mean, the floor-to-floor on the first floor is 10'8". I'm not sure what you're thinking about trusses versus 2x10s, but that's still a pretty substantial ceiling. Even bringing it down to 9 feet knocks another, foot off the top of the house. The front to rear pitch could change and maintain the pitch as you view it from the front, and you can bring it down. As you're requesting a variance from us, it's always a little give and take. So, I mean, I understand how the neighbors feel about it. I do recognize that you oriented the house between their two properties. So your backyard looks between theirs and they look over your property, so it's not as obtrusive to them. But, so I think if we can do a little bit of give and take, I'm not sure about reorienting, because I understand Mr. Sullivan's point. You're going to take your side yard down to like 20 feet, but the substantial portion of it is just the corners. So if you did do that, the real encroachment is just on the corner of the house. The rest of it steps away from it. So I understand your point of view.
Mr. Chairman,
Or would
I
you
second.
like us to proceed with our deliberations as it's been presented? Sure, please.
Mr. Chairman, I second Mr. Franco's opinion on the orientation of the home.
About what, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry?
Tell me what you're agreeing with him on.
The orientation of the home, the way it's presented. I think it is this orientation provides the minimal impact to the neighbors.
Okay.
If the home would be reoriented, I would feel like there would be an increase in impervious coverage because the driveway would have to kind of turn around. You'd also have, or you may have a pathway to your front door. And the way it's located, if you kind of do a cross between those four adjacent homes, it's really right in the middle of all those homes, as close as practical as possible. So I really think this orientation does sort of lend itself to minimizing or the disturbance and maximizing the distance from all four adjacent homes.
I think if we are deliberating, I think we're making assumptions about what these Raritan borough neighbors think. And I don't think it's our place to tell them to orientate. And frankly, I don't think it makes any difference. And if you orientate it that way, now you're putting the backyard closer to the steep slopes. These folks are worried about water. Okay, that's all they can technically be worried about, right? We can't, this gentleman owns this property, he has a right to develop it. Frankly, I think that that's my opinion.
The question
My
was just whether
opinion
they
is
wanted to, he said that he was.
The lot is very narrow, and there aren't too many options for the owner of that property to do anything. And the way it is presented to me, it's fine. It's so far away from the house in the back, so far away from the houses in the front. And I don't see any problem with the layout the way it is. I have no problem with it.
Thank you, Ms. Sunbeam. Let's just pause for a moment. Mr. Sullivan?
I will be ready to approve this application.
We're not into deliberation.
Yes.
We're not there yet, but thank you.
No,
Yeah, we'd like to.
It's a narrow lot.
Tonight without reorienting the house.
Right.
However, we will commit that the height will be reduced to 33 and a half feet.
33 and a half feet, thank you. So formally, we would now like to deliberate. We've heard opinions based on everybody's earlier comments. We know what we're voting on now, and that is we would be entertaining a vote after deliberations as to whether we would approve or deny this application. So are there any, I think, Mr. Widley, you wanted to offer commentary.
No, let's deliberate. I'll start to deliberate.
Please.
All right, so the only thing I don't really agree with on the testimony is the fact that, and Ms. Rose brought it up, is it's going to be a bigger house than what's in the neighborhood. But if you drive around the surrounding towns, especially in Bridgewater, when the smaller houses are a developed lot, they're going to build bigger places. I mean, I live around the corner, there's 3 that went up in the last year and a half, 2 years. So it's going to happen. It's like Mr. Fresco said, in between Mr. Sullivan talking to his client over there, he owns the property, he has a right to develop on it. The height, they're bringing down a little. They're not even looking for a variance on that. They're going to put a house in. Mr. Burr's an expert on the drainage. He says that overall you're going to be improved. Most likely, he's right all the time. It will improve it. So I'm in favor of the application the way it's presented.
Mr. Gajewski, would you like to formally?
Yeah, look, if this wasn't an oddly shaped lot, you wouldn't even be here, right? You can build this on a conforming lot, right? So
Right.
that's not, it really was just a question of, my only concerns was whether you wanted to do anything, you or the future property owner would want to do anything in that backyard down the road, right? You would need a variance for it, and you may or may not get it. Other than that, yeah, you can build a house this size.
Ms. Rose?
It's too big.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, I just.
No, it's okay.
think it's too big, and I appreciate that when an architect comes before us and says, this is my piece of property, and I'm going to design something on this piece of property that takes advantage of the different nuances of the neighborhood, and I happen to think that you could construct a home on that piece of property, knowing that I would approve the variances. that would be more in keeping with what's in the neighborhood, because I understand what's being said, and there is no plan at this point to put additions onto those other houses to make them as big as this one. So that's why I would not support it.
Mr. McNella?
I think some of my questions sort of gave away what my feelings were about the orientation of the house. I think orienting it a different way would ameliorate some of the concerns, visually harmonious as to the neighbors. But the people that own the property know we can't take the property from them, in essence, by denying them a house that otherwise fits within our zoning regulations. Any way the house is oriented, it's going to need a variance.
Yes.
I think that the water situation, from my engineering experience, which is somewhat small, but I think it will not exacerbate the problems there. I think, the houses that are there already, they're 60s style houses, and we're in 2026. We're not going to have the same scale, I don't think. That I don't think is the issue. But I probably won't get the vote on it.
Okay, fair enough. Now, we were informally deliberating before, but let me go back. Mr. Fresco, would you like to reiterate anything?
Really, yeah, sure, really quickly. I appreciate the applicant being willing to reevaluate the trees, looking at the wells, reaching out to the neighbor in another town to identify their wells, looking at all 4 wells, the water management, I think is all solid stuff. My opinion is this is an utterly unique area of town. We've got massive retail. We've got detached, attached. I drove the neighborhood. Every house is different there. Okay, this is what people are building. We've seen these types of cases before. I think that we have the best people in the county. I think the applicant has shown their willingness to work with the neighbors, and I think together we're going to make this a very good case, so I do support it.
Mr. Franco?
I have to agree. I think, they're trying to do water detention. Not a lot of houses put that scale of dry well on a property. And they've got catch basins and drainage throughout the property to pick up things. It's picking up everything from the roof. So, the hopes are, because as you mentioned, our 100-year storms come like every other year. So, water is the biggest issue with everybody. And the more you can take care of it, I appreciate the fact you're trying to lower the house for the impact, especially the closeness to the side yard. So I really don't have an issue with it.
Very well. Mr. Vesio, do you want to reiterate anything, or would you want to stand with your earlier comments?
No, I would vote, I don't believe I will be, but in favor of this application. I do appreciate that they reduced the roof height. I think that could alleviate any future issues we might have with a variance potentially popping up, so I'm happy about that, and also, reducing the visual of that as much as possible. So,
Mrs. Amin, did you want to repeat what you said earlier, or are you okay with your earlier comments?
Same as before.
Yes. You're good with that? Very well. I'll just add my comments. I think that because we are faced with a hardship imposed on this applicant by the size of the lot, we're really only talking about variances for the front and rear yard setback. In the process, though, in working with the neighbors and working with our professionals, I think what we've gotten is a much better project in terms of stormwater management, the appropriate drainage. I think the homeowner or eventual homeowner is getting what he has proposed and what he would like to see built, and I would fully support this project as it's been presented to us. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion. Oh, do you have another comment?
Yes, I do, and that is, after listening to everyone's comments, I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, very, very well. Was there something else?
So before there's any kind of motion, let me just go over some of the conditions.
Please.
Hopefully all of the conditions. Okay, so the overall height of the house will not exceed 33.5 feet. It'll widen the driveway to 20 feet wide in accordance with the fire marshal's report. You'll conform the architect's plan and engineer's plan to show the same FAR to which our township engineer will be in agreement with, the calculation method, right? The conditions that are already set forth in the Bridgewater Council resolution with respect to the construction standards of this property will continue, right? I'll outline those in our resolution. You'll require Board of Health approval for the well location and construction. You'll field locate the wells on the 4 properties that are adjacent to the property and show those on the plan. You'll add a turnaround area on your property to the satisfaction of the township engineer. You'll reduce the number of trees to be removed west of the driveway, also to the satisfaction of the township engineer. You'll update the zone chart, again, with respect to FAR and hillside development calculations. You'll update the architectural plans to show the basement as unfinished. The sewer lateral shall not be connected to the manhole. And the engineer's plan will be updated to show the sewer connection. You'll relocate the driveway entrance, so not to be at the middle of Edgewood Terrace. All access to the property during construction shall be off of Edgewood Terrace. So you're not coming off of the Raritan side to the property. We'll add a landscape buffer at the northerly property line to our township planner's satisfaction, and that's it. Okay?
I'll make a motion
I'll second.
Okay.
So we have a motion,
with
Mrs.
all these
Amin,
conditions.
and Mr. Fresco seconded.
Franco.
Oh, Mr. Franco, I'm sorry. There's a ventriloquist down there. So with that, roll call, please, Ms. Probst? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Sure, yes.
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 Very well, thank you. Mr. Sullivan, thank you very much. Mr. Roy, good luck with your property. This should be an exciting project for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
How do you want to proceed from here?
Let's just go until we're out of time. Yeah. We left you with a lot of time.
Not much, but thank you for your patience and welcome.
Oh, of course. I appreciate the flexibility. I know you usually don't start applications after 9:30. We just have one witness I'd like to put on tonight, which is Pastor Tim, to tell you a little bit about the operations, and we'll be certainly done by 10. So if you could,
Fair enough.
we'd appreciate the indulgence.
Now, I know Mr. Aller knows who you are, but if you would take a moment to introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Good evening, Chairman, board members, and Mr. Aller. My name is Nicholas Rassiopi, Nick Rassiopi. I'm from the law firm of Riker Danzig, and I'm here tonight representing the applicant, Liquid Church. I really would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge one thing I wanted to acknowledge as I sat here listening to this procedure. Chairman, you do an excellent job professionally and professorially how you run these meetings. I've been doing this for a long time in a lot of different places. You should give a seminar to some other chairman.
Well, thank you, and that's very nice of you to say.
Really, really well done. Let me start by saying, and I'm going to be really brief so we could get Pastor Tim on, as a real estate attorney, it's not often that you have the opportunity to work on a project that serves such an important mission and really has such a profound community impact. And you're going to hear that from Pastor Tim. So it's my honor and pleasure really to play whatever small part I'm going to play in advancing, hopefully advancing this worthy project forward. As I said, I'm going to keep my opening remarks brief tonight since we have assembled really an amazing team. You'll hear from the first tonight, and my words would really pale in comparison to what they're going to say. Having said that, just a couple of background facts that I want to set forth. The property is, as you know, 430 Route 22 East. We are seeking preliminary and final site plan, a conditional use variance, some bulk variances. All variances, very important, are a result of existing conditions. We are simply proposing to repurpose an existing office building to a house of worship. And nothing is changing to the building, and no new construction is proposed other than a stair tower with about a footprint of about 185 square feet and some interior modifications. So, and I was going to say that we're going to answer all the questions of the professionals, but we won't be doing that tonight. We'll be answering some of them. So that's really it for me right now. Unless there's any questions, I'd like to bring up our first witness, who is Pastor Tim Lucas.
I appreciate your opening remarks, and yes, please, Pastor Tim, welcome. I'm sure that Mr. Oler is going to swear you in, and I think you can do that. I think it's okay. He's a man of God. But
So, Pastor, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank you for your patience. I know this is a long evening, but Mr. Chairman, members of the board, township professionals, neighbors, my name is Tim Lucas, L-U-C-A-S. First name Timothy. I serve as lead pastor of Liquid Church, which is a non-denominational Christian church. Simply means everybody's welcome. So Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Jedi Knight, you're welcome. We welcome folks from every spiritual background or none at all. We named our church Liquid because in the Bible, Jesus calls himself the living water. So our philosophy is that church should be refreshing. Liquid was founded in 2007, so we are officially 19 years old. And our main campus or headquarters is in Parsippany, New Jersey. And over the years, we've enjoyed a wonderful relationship with the township, very close with them, serving residents, hosting community events for families, special needs children, and even remodeling their senior center. We're here tonight regarding the property at 430 Route 22, as you know, a former Johnson & Johnson building that we would like to use as a house of worship. And I would like to just take a minute just to thank township officials who helped us identify this particular property. On April 15th, 2025, our team met with some of the township officials, and at the meeting, we were actually considering a different office building at 1160 Route 22, and they suggested we take a look at 430 Route 22 instead. We followed their guidance, inspected the property, and quickly saw why they pointed us in that direction. It is a great location in a corporate office park setting, away from immediate residential adjacency. It's got easy access to Route 22, also fits our needs very well as a church. And so we are currently under contract with the owner. And so we just want to thank the officials for their guidance, because without their help, I wouldn't be standing here before you tonight. The site is already developed with a 3-story existing building and parking lot, and our proposal is to use the existing building with some very minor modifications as a house of worship. About 90% of our church's activity occurs on Sunday mornings. So about 90% of activity on Sunday mornings between the hours of 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. We anticipate offering 2 identical Sunday worship services, 8:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Our services are approximately 75 minutes in length. They include 15 minutes of live music, 3 songs. Then 45 minutes of Bible teaching, or conventionally called a sermon, and a concluding time of prayer, reflection, or communion, sacramental things. This past week we had baby dedications. So we budget about 45 minutes between services to allow time for people to exit and enter our properties. We actually have 6 different locations across New Jersey. As I said, our main one is in Parsippany, New Jersey. That's our corporate headquarters, which we intend to keep in Parsippany, New Jersey. Our farthest south one is in Princeton, about 5 minutes from Princeton University. The main auditorium will be serving adults, and during services, we have age-appropriate children's programming. classrooms for nursery, pre-K, toddlers, elementary-age children, mainly Bible lessons and crafts. If you're wondering about peak usage of our churches typically occur during the 10:30 a.m. Sunday service. We expect approximately 500 adults in the main auditorium and approximately 100 children in the classrooms. The 8:30 a.m. service, we would expect about 300 adults in the main auditorium and approximately 60 children in the classrooms. We currently have a congregation meeting in the Somerville High School, about 350 attendees, and we would expect they would be moving from there, from portable campus to this as their permanent location. Based on our experience over 19 years with launching 6 different locations, what we have found is that when a congregation moves from a temporary meeting location into a permanent facility, attendance may increase over time. And as you'll see, therefore, our planned auditorium capacity has future growth in mind, including additional capacity for guests who typically attend only on holidays, such as Christmas and Easter. We have a significant influx of folks who come twice a year. We call them CEOs, Christmas, Easter only. And we welcome them. I will mention a couple things just to clarify some things that come up with our church applications. Our church does not operate a daycare facility or a school, and we have no plans to start one at this location. We also do not operate a restaurant or a catering hall. You'll see in our plans we do have a small cafe area that serves free coffee to guests, snacks to volunteers. As I mentioned, our main offices are in Parsippany, and so that's where our staff reports Monday through Friday. We have about 100 people on staff in Parsippany, and they'll remain there. Our expected footprint in Bridgewater is much smaller, only about 10 to 12 employees during the week, so it's a much smaller footprint as a satellite campus to Parsippany. In addition to Sunday worship, we also host special events really designed to bless our neighbors. That's our heart. We love to serve our way into the heart of the township and all the families that we have in the Bridgewater, Somerville area. At our Parsippany location, we do that in a few ways. We host food distribution through the community food bank to serve hungry residents in Parsippany who can't afford food. We also have a huge heart for the special needs population in New Jersey. One of the things we love to do is we host an event called Night to Shine. It is a prom for folks with special needs, families who have children with autism, Asperger's, and Down syndrome. We host Night to Shine in partnership with the Tim Tebow Foundation and with the New Jersey State Police as our honored guest. It's been a partnership for the last 7 years, and we love to see our congregation out on the dance floor, hosting with our special guests. I'll also mention that we have, in Parsippany, had a great partnership with the township and made our auditorium available to the township as a backup site for their summer concerts and community events. We love to partner with the community in any way, and we were even honored to receive a key from the city of Parsippany from the mayor. Our goal is to love the people of Bridgewater well and be an excellent neighbor. We have no desire to disrupt the community in any way, but really to thoughtfully adapt this existing office building for a purpose that strengthens local families. We want to be a place where marriages are strengthened, children are cared for, teens find community off their screens, and our neighbors experience the love of God through acts of practical community service. Our hope is really to build the same kind of very positive, respectful, community-minded partnership here in Bridgewater that we have enjoyed over the years in Parsippany. We're so thankful for your time and your consideration tonight. We're grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm happy to answer any questions that may be helpful at this late hour.
What is the one thing in the years since you've come to fruition that you're most proud of?
I would say it's our work with the special needs community. You know, New Jersey has the highest rate of autism in the nation. And we see that as people debate whether that's nature or nurture, what that is. We see it as an incredible opportunity for ministry. And so we have had an incredible, that's a word of mouth among that community, very underserved. We find in New Jersey a lot of children with special needs, they age out of the system after age 18. And they have a hard time assimilating into social situations. But our church is one of the most inclusive in the nation. We actually have a number of churches fly in to actually see how we do special needs ministry while we have children with a variety of intellectual and developmental disabilities in our classrooms. And we don't hide them behind a curtain. They actually are front and center serving, handing out programs, being ushers, even helping with some of our sacramental things. So that's something that we love to see. I feel like the love of God really shows the heart of God, to have people who are often seen as last treated as first in a public setting.
I appreciate that. Can you also tell us what goes on during the week in your facility, should it be approved?
Sure. Yeah, so as I said, midweek traffic is a much smaller footprint. Typically, we would have potential Bible studies, 10 to 12 people. They're able to use our church facilities for midweek Bible study. You also have a monthly youth group, so the teens come together for a time of games, Bible teaching, and typically pizza. Trying to think of anything else. That's really what we would expect to the extent here in Bridgewater. Again, our main activities are in Parsippany, so it'd be much smaller during the midweek.
Fair enough.
So I have a
Pastor
question
Tim?
about.
Yes.
Do you plan on having a Saturday afternoon or evening service, or just on Sunday?
We have no plans for that at this time. None of our campuses have Saturday services.
So all of them are consistent with an 8:30 and 10:30?
Yeah, or 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, yeah, between that 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. Hour. The only exception for that would be on the holidays like Easter and Christmas. We typically add extra services in order to accommodate, make sure there's not crowding at prime time. So for instance, on Easter Sunday this past year, we had a service on Saturday afternoon so that children could come do an Easter egg hunt and not have the crowds at 10:30 where most people come.
You said that right now you have Somerville High School, that's where you operate.
Yes.
And something like 350 people come there, something like that?
350 people on a Sunday morning currently at our Somerville location.
Do you expect to have more people when you open up this new center?
Yeah, and that's reflected in the expanded auditorium capacity. So again, this past Sunday in Somerville, we had about 300 adults and about 50 children. A lot of times when you move into a more permanent location, younger families feel more confident in the childcare that you're providing them. So we would expect it to grow incrementally over the years based on our past campuses expanding.
So based on the drawings that we have, something like 900 people can fit in that space?
That's right, yeah. But so there's seating for about 900 plus, as you'll see on the plans here. The way church dynamics are, people, it's like the movie theater. Nobody sits shoulder to shoulder. It's typically every other chair. So that would comfortably fit 400, 500 people, which is what I think we would expect at prime time at 10:30.
Typically, like from how far do people come to your church?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So we would be considered a multi-site church, right, having different locations. And kind of that was the way we stumbled onto that, as we realized in New Jersey, people are willing to drive about 20 minutes on the weekend for church. And when we put it closer to them, they're able to be more substantively involved in the community life, serving their neighbors and their community. So, people in Parsippany, the majority of them would be from Morris County. Down in Princeton, they would be primarily Mercer County. So it's more of a county, draw for the campus.
I think Bridgewater is about 46,000 folks or something like that. I mean, what percentage do you think of your congregation would come from Bridgewater?
That's a great question. We usually kind of put a Google heat map from where people are. And so in our Somerville location, the two, I think, municipalities most represented are Somerville and Bridgewater. I don't know. I don't have a specific percentage. We don't, can't speculate that.
Thank you.
Pastor?
Yes, sir.
What's your closest location then to here, Princeton?
It probably would be Parsippany, which is, a good 30 miles up 287.
35 minutes, and Princeton's probably about the same.
Yeah, probably equidistant.
And those are the closest ones. Where are your other locations?
So we have one in Mountainside, so down 22.
Only 30 minutes still?
Yeah, exactly. And got one in Garwood, so it's about 10 minutes from Mountainside. We also have one in Wayne, New Jersey on Ratzer Road there. So that, the idea there is that you're trying to put church closer to where people live Not to say we don't like tourists, people traveling, but we really want to be embedded in the fabric of the community so we can serve neighbors and build relationship.
Do you have a long-term growth plan that includes other locations?
It's one of those, it's interesting. We have been given the privilege of being given 4 church buildings over the years from seniors who have seen their attendance decline. We're a multi-generational church. We have 5 generations, boomers, builders, I'm Gen X. I'm kind of the translator between the millennials and Gen Z, and so we're very proud of that. But one of the things we've been blessed by is part of our expansion that's happened has been, we've been approached by other churches that said, hey, we were growing in the 70s and 80s, but we plateaued and now we've declined, and now people want to, build, a strip mall in New Jersey, instead. But we'd like to see this as a continued house of worship. And so we've been given those 4 different facilities and, done all of the facilities, delayed maintenance and upgrading, kind of contemporizing them for a new generation. And so, for instance, in Princeton, that was I'll give you the Mountainside example. That one's very close here on Route 22. It was down to 27 senior citizens, and they were about to close the door. They said, we can't afford to have the church anymore. But they had been there since 1889.
Wow.
Imagine, right? 200-year testimony of faithfulness serving that community. And so they said, could we become a campus of Liquid? Now, we're a little bit more modern church, and the music is a little loud for some of them. But they said, our children really love this, and our grandchildren are coming here, and they're learning to be moral citizens, and so we want to get behind that. When they gave us that building, we were able to work together to upgrade it, and now it's a campus of about 600 people. So that's one of those, what we call a resurrection story. 27 with perhaps not a great future to 600 now thriving for the next generation.
Fair enough.
Are you connected, in your Somerville location, are you connected to any of the local community organizations that work with those populations?
I believe we're working with the Community Food Bank, and I'm going to ask Pastor Chris, who's our pastor. Gigi's Playhouse, which is in Hillsborough.
Okay. I have some more agencies for you.
Sure.
I'm sure you do.
We love it. We love to partner.
Okay. All right.
Our people, I think one of the unique things about Liquid is that, our people perhaps are people who've grown up in a more traditional church environment, or maybe they kind of, stop going to mass or whatever, but they want their children to receive a moral grounding, And we have a very outward focused, so it's not just Bible teaching inside the church. We said, hey, love for God should express itself in love for neighbor. And so you'll find our people are not pew warmers. They're very active in their communities, whether it's coaching or serving, partnering with other organizations, making a difference.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Are you the principal pastor for the church, or how does the structure of your church work?
Sure, that's a great question. Yeah, so I would serve as the lead pastor or senior pastor. My wife and I started the church actually out of a 150-year-old Baptist church in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. So my mentor is Peter Pendel back there, who has served in the pulpit for 40 years. And I was a high school English teacher in Summit, New Jersey at the time when we started working with the church. And so I'm as surprised as you are. Serving as a pastor today, I like to say God tricked me. We're the accidental pastor, but it's been a blessing. And one of the things that God has done is he brought along other pastors. And so we have a pastoral team of about 12 different pastors who provide the primary care, shepherding, and sacramental duties at the location. So I preach on Sundays at our main location in Parsippany, and then that message is broadcast. So it's actually beamed to the other churches, what we call maybe satellite locations, and it's shown on the screen on the stage there. And so that allows me to kind of keep my main area, my lane of teaching, Bible teaching and vision, while our campus pastors, that's what we call them at the local campus level, provide the shepherding, pastoral care of the community who live there locally. And then each campus has a complement, again, as between 5 and 10 other staff. Those would include a worship minister, a Liquid family, so that would be our classrooms, et cetera, in the different areas of ministry.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the board members? we appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself and the church. And before we let you go, even though I'm not certain there are members of the public, but would like to open the floor to any members of the public who would like to ask questions of you and your testimony. And seeing it's just your friends here, well, no, yeah, they look like friends. I'm going to say no, we'll close that portion, but thank you very much for the introduction and for coming to speak with us.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. Appreciate the township officials. Grateful.
And Mr. Rassiopi, did I get it right?
That's right.
All right.
And
What would you like to tell us?
I kept my comments brief.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. What would you
So,
like to tell us that's coming up next? And then we have to come up with an appropriate date.
Right. So you want to know the other witnesses?
Yes, just kind of generally what your plan of attack
Yeah,
is.
so
here.
we have 4 more witnesses, right? Brian Wild from Langen was our civil engineer. He'd be next. Carl Penke, traffic engineer from Langen, of course. He's traffic. Michael Hughes, who's our architect, and Sean Moronsky, who is planning from Langen as well.
Okay, very well. So Nancy, what do you think we have in terms of dates where we can come back and talk to the people from Liquid Church?
Let me just cut in while you're fixing your microphone. We talked about a few dates before. Was there anything that you were focused on?
Well, the availability, Mr. Aller, that you gave me was a little different than what Nancy gave me, but,
Her book's up to date.
okay. So I think that while Pastor Tim will be on vacation on September 8th, I think Nancy mentioned that September 8th was open, more open than August, because August 25th, there's 2 applications before us. We have 4 more witnesses to get through. Maybe better do it September 8th, but I don't know.
So I just received an update. I wasn't aware that some residential application has been scheduled already on the 8th. I expect it would be brief, but you would have,
Would that be the only other application on the 8th?
that's the only thing we would do at this point, yes. We would keep it to that residential application. He's a pro se applicant, so expect it would go fairly quickly.
So residential addition. Okay, sounds quick.
Sounds good.
All right, okay.
We'll take it.
All right, so September 8th?
September 8th.
Okay, so for purposes of the public, this meeting's going to adjourn, and we'll continue on September 8th in this room at 7 PM with no further notice from the applicant.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you,
again
everyone.
for your indulgence. I know you don't go past 10 o'clock most of the time.
You can make it.
Can I just get an extension through the end of September? Is that
Yes,
September 30?
yes.
Thank you.
Can I
Okay, have a good summer.
motion to adjourn the
Thank you.
meeting? Get a second?
Second.
All in favor?